live here at Old City Hall where the Moors have returned. Sir, do you have anything to say about this matter?
Yeah. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Yep.
Sir, what do you have to say?
I just want to put it on the record. I'm not ready.
Yeah, what he said.
Moors' life matters.
More lives matter. It seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Shot in the back running or choked out to death on the corners. Mistake this taser for his sidearm, says the coroner. To the yellow journalist that won awards for writing facts for World Wide Web press stories, always calling them black. Civil rights violated, here comes C1-7 and CIA and FBI agent, brethren felons with what Big Brother once heard. Most Moors are nerds and study more than if I'm on the road, no biting curbs. No threats of nooses or fighting for survival. Making Moors martyrs won't happen, calling us captain rival. Inquisitionists, governors and secretaries of state got stateless on their tables like ribeye steak. With no care, blood dripping, they eat blacks rare. Foreigners wearing 6-point badges, pretending they're heirs to the vastness of state Maghrib al-Aqsa. Stateless blood flow past a horse's brow, I swear it's agua. Demons thirst quench, stealing pioneers and organs. Psychiatry, death industry, to start selling black orphans. And half-closed coffins, cause legs are missing. Killing stateless people, cancer won't even see remission. More lives matter. But it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter.
System, what system? Not gonna make myself no victim. Run down and kick them up, educate oneself and flip them. All of their titles or nationality strips them. Must grip reality in order to really grip them in this third dimensional illusion. Organized chaos, confusion, stealing your attention, mental intrusion. Universal laws, declaration of the ancients. I self-law and master, from the rooftops to the basements, hoop deep to the spaceship. Ever since all creations, celestial foundations, ocean floor to the ranges, to the mountain tip, to the cosmic infinite. Basically we are way above the shit. In other words, get in tune with spirit. Take a breath and accept mental polarity, gender, rhythm, correspondence, vibration, cause and effect.
More lives matter. But it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter.
More lives matter cause I sing it no sound off. It gets defective when rejected, pull your mask off. Get my perspective on the record to replay. On the news that on replay till they wanna cast off. Bury them, on to the next one. Enough of them are gunning down. Youths them a cast cross. Can't believe a Tubby that. Can't believe a Taj Pass. Trayvon, Michael Brown died for us to find cause. The afterlife visited the class wrong. Who they really wanna see with the crown on high and the garbs on free? I am free and you're no business but your land or your country to seek your inalienable rights. The insatiable delight of knowing thyself and bringing all injustice to light. For the fight, it's your plight, make your sight for the bright. I'm the mic in the night, foresight for you to realize that, huh?
More lives matter. But it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter.
Here we go. Raka! North Star! That way. The North Star's that way. Canaanland moves. Read off we pay every day. Uplift the V cause we all base. We enforce the law and we obey. Forefathers from before is still today. Reading my Quran and my Torah. Universal laws in more ways. Read 4 chapters, receive it 4 ways. Great divine love rules our verse. Before I circle blocks, man, I circle sevens first. You bust the image, but your rhymes hurt. You clear 13 disrespected earth. Love, but it's all in God's plan. Today's mathematics don't judge a man. Unity of life, embodiment of truth. I'm responsible for every deed, cause I seen the proof. No, but Drew X, do I have to draw it out for you? Cause nationality is not a color I can use. Jerry Spruce, standing on my square, even without shoes. On the highest authority, spirit of blue. Marcus Garvey, whirlwind times 2. The world's in the wind when the trumpet blew.
Stand up, go into your bathroom. If you got a big floor to ceiling, cut the light on and stand and take a good hard look at yourself. You are the Moorish government, you know, and it took me a long time to get to understand that concept. I self-law am master. If I can govern myself, if I can govern my household, that's what I should be doing. Why should I walk out of my door and then leave everything that I know about myself in the house to go out and adopt something that I have no knowledge thereof? It makes no sense. So we need to stop asking that question. I ask myself this question: if not me, then who?
Death and wisdom, my friends, intelligent creatures, guardians of sacred knowledge, Olmecan features, secrets of the afterlife, manifest the present day. Dirty Moors and scoundrels lose their heads in a pleasant way. Deceit and deception, negative past thoughts, keeps awareness on point. Spirit messages never off. Inner realizations, encounter the higher selves. Next plane existence explains my consistence. Without a foe, you never know, so pass most resistant. Divinity, my twin flame, side chick and mistress, metaphysic, Kabbalistic, Almaroc mystic, patriarch, papistics, make my thoughts sadistic, so indigenous, call me Americanistic, invoking the ancestors, Saracen cryptic, suns on rotation, flows ecliptic, shatter all illusions, reveal the realistic, sitting in the dark, holding the light marvelous, recognize the artifice, skin so carbonous, hair so antenna, I feel them from Vienna, myriad of virtues, lessons, in reptilian henna. Enlightenment seekers won't find it in mainstream. Focus as a laser, stay balanced like a beam. Not even a gymnast. Whenever I flip this, as above, so below. Get out when within this. Don't think I'm a slave, cause I speak in English. Drew, I'll either water, watch your flames get extinguished. Living in your higher, lower self is relinquished. Reputation of master teachers, call it distinguished.
Always want to get you in. What? I'm rockets. Who says we ain't in the building? Who says we ain't into building? We the Moorish master masons, architects for your children, reppin' Friday 13th like Jason without the killing. But we promote life, oh, it's all about the feeling. And we invoke light, yo, we them light beings. Though you might see him on the block getting his portion, might be talking to cops, giving them caution. Occasionally wearing his fez when he's walking. See the turning heads, whispering, gawking. But he's locked in, and he's zoned out while we boxed in our own house.
We study the mystics, the adepts, the magi. Wisdom of the ancients can uncalcify eyes. Possible mission, free mental numbness. Extract the substance, rid minds of dumbness. Use the source, don't care what some purport. As we know by being told man knows not. Many before the floor, souls got bought. Placed in the devil's hands, ruling the seven lands. To dogma rituals, Negro spirituals. Brainwash subliminal, keeps thinking to a minimal. They still criminal, in a world digital so pitiful. Mental Survival so critical, it's visible. Can you see past writers' blocks? Hashtag zombies with waves of cyber thoughts. No need for cell phones, they speak through saw palms. It's nothing for alarm, trips and forearms.
Wind, brass, and bass, such a beautiful serenade. Women feeding me grapes, I'm feeding the in these serenades. Whether the sky is clear or gray, rain when you hear it fake, giving life to seeds, speaking through who not here today. Show you the future in a glimpse, and always look to these hoes like hallucinatory pimps. Sun walked the desert, been more ever since I found God. Look back, used to see his prince. Forget being a prince, I'm a G. OD, grown man, no Jody. Deny it, you don't know me. Don't make me tap into the old me. That's like a couple hundred years. Walk around town with a couple hundred peers and release the peace of up fears. The sun gon' shine, so what tears? This young brother here just trying to get his third eye clear.
Dish deep, Moors don't sleep. Invest in your mind and body and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks. Conscious thinking and living and then attack. Dish deep, Moors don't sleep. Invest in your mind and body and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks. Conscious thinking and living and then attack.
So as the moon sets, the sun takes its place at schools on blocks, inspired spots, filled spaces. Peel back, rats, who got cases? Fire stain the corridors of flemmo faces. Game changers, rule benders and no pretenders. Style lenders, channel my vibe through the vibrant optic lenses. Send a message to our veterans, soldiers up and get it in. We on our verge, we emerge subliminal beings. Third eye seeing, still I participate unwilling.
They wanna break me, shape, bait, grade me. Rolling with my main G, double O-M-B. S-O-N is crazy. For a minute that you think you could take me for a fool, like a native to his land, being schooled by a foreign dude. You've mistaken me, spiders on the roof, in the dark tools. I've been saying you've mistaken me. You better move or I mark it. My weapon is my tongue, your existence to target. Revealing all lies and deceit on the market. Genocide carried around in pockets, I knock it down, bulldozer. David to Goliath, it's an exposure. Some big cats ruling and it's getting closer to your downfall. Round up all your soldiers.
Little homie, I was seeking a fortune, tired of misfortune. I just wanted a portion, everything that I never had, though I needed my portion. Blowing like porcelain, haters fragile as porcelain. Getting broke, tired of being broke. How we acquire hope is the DJ skilling some dope, just to keep us afloat. Mind as deep as the boat, brain is a lethal weapon. We one need to elope. When I speak, I provoke. Walk in the room with my aura feeling like heavy smoke. Feel like when the levee broke under my Louis fitted the semi-poke. Cause dirty cops will kill your boy, yeah, the joke. The cost of living, higher profits in private prison. These little girls are selling bodies just to pay tuition. These little niggas selling niggas just for bail condition. It's like the slavery never ended with the intermission. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me and make one plan. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me and one plan.
Peace and love, Moors. I am Israel. I left L. You tuned into MHHS, Eyes Wide Open, Sons of Allah, for June the 20th, Summer Solstice 2019 Gregorian calendar. And of course, I'm here along with Noble Cujo, Adwo L. Grand Sheik, peace and love.
Peace and love, Moors.
Islam.
What's good with you, Moors?
Peace and love.
Good to be
Peace and love
back.
to everybody listening.
Peace and love
to
all.
For sure. It's good to be back on this platform. And I was in tune. I'm thankful you sent me the video link and whatnot. But I know you and Brother Yusuf was going in. I hope the brother didn't feel like he wasn't welcome and is still tuned in. But,
he's still tuned in. He's there.
Okay, that because I was loving the conversation anyway. So this is a special time, to let it all merge in because we here on the summer solstice. What better time for us to merge a conversation like this? I gotta say first and foremost, though, I'm thankful for the platform. Also, you sent me the link before y'all went live a couple of hours ago or whatnot. And I listened to about 4 or 5 minutes of it, man, and I was like, here we go again, bro. Because it brings up, I was talking about this theme earlier with someone else about the subject of elevation, and note the EL in the front. But this is the times that we're in with the solstice, the sun stand, which is, a Aboriginal, a Mexam, Almoroccan, custom basically of the northern hemisphere to observe. But what blew my mind is y'all was talking about the subject of Native Americans, and even the video that y'all were commenting on about the so-called Chief Holiday or whatnot. I felt like, damn, it's crazy because within like the first 4 to 5 minutes of me listening to the audio, I don't know, give or take a couple more or less minutes, but he was saying that, we're not original to America and that no so-called Native Americans had a story about the land splitting, and he was trying to say that this was a pseudo myth. And what I realized that we really mentally suffer from a lack of knowledge about geography, and a lot of our people get selfish when it comes to who they are. And what I mean by that is they act like the earth didn't exist before we did. So the earth is a natural living thing. The land is a living thing. In other words, they have no respect for the platform of which they stand on. Everything else on it grows except it. Everything else, goes through changes and phases throughout its existence, but we're going to look at it like the platform or the planet Earth itself didn't go through phases. And I think that that's arrogance. Also, in conclusion or in conjunction with that, is that we to the point of, suffering mentally from a lack of understanding of geography. Like they'll say, oh, we're Native Americans, but no Native Americans had a story about the Great Flood. This is pseudo. But if you look at the original people of so-called Mexico, we have to understand that's still a Mexam before the borders and the boundaries that we see on the maps today, because people like to get exclusive, like, oh, I'm a Native American and my family is from Virginia. Like it was always called that or something. You know what I mean? And like the so-called Mexicans and the Olmecs wasn't Moors. Right? So you look into their history, they have the same exact story that Noble Dry Lee was also speaking about, or at least, giving you a reference point to go back to. And again, to the point that even his roots being correlated with so-called Cherokee and whatnot, that these are things that are taken seriously across the globe on the international level. So I say that to say that you can't say no Native Americans didn't have so-called Native Americans who we know to be Moors, Moabites, Olmecs, Aztecs, in other words, Asiatics, you understand, had these philosophies, because this is something that actually did happen all over the world as far as the land splitting. And I say this to give a reference point, because they say, oh, yeah, well, at the bottom of the ocean is a floor. Well, how about the earth that we stand on right now has a mountain range called the Himalayas, and at the very top of it is sea salt. How does sea salt get on the top of mountains, the highest mountains that you know of? How did that end up there? So when you look at that, you can see that there's a direct correlation to the geography of the ocean floor, the earth, or rising and sinking up, or rising down and popping up. It's not impossible. First of all, to respect the platform that we even on, before we talk about a territory or a tribe, of what area, of what land, because that existed first, right? So we know that Moors are original all over this planet. And when we talk about elevation and things being at its highest point, and them trying to discredit that so-called myth, which is not a myth, by saying that there was no Native Americans, quote unquote, because this is how they speak. This is how they try to correlate to the land. That had that story, I say you got to look at Oxomoco and Zachiquetzal, because there was original people of the Americas who had that story. It is universally recognized. So that bleeds right into everything what Noble Drew Ali was speaking about, even in the 101s. But I'll say this, and I definitely want to, open up the floor. Let's dialogue, because we here on the summer solstice. But for me, right, like, I know that it's like certain words is so much, it's more so for your very own understanding opposed to somebody else's external understanding or perception. Like, I understand, that we're Moabites, Canaanites, because of these stories that correlate all of this earth being together. Yeah, because that's what he said. It was no Pangea, but there wasn't a Mexim. And I don't mean to go off, you know what I mean? But in fact, that's what a Mexim is, you know what I mean? But to speak to the concept of the land being connected, these are keys that will help you understand and fortify yourself mentally and spiritually of your originality to this planet Earth, period. Not just so much America or not just so much Africa or Asia, like the whole planet. This is what it's there to fortify you with. So I know I found fortification in that, but also in studying literature like J.A. Rogers, RV Bay Publications, J.A. Rogers, that Sex and Race, Volume 1 through 3, and that Nature Knows No Color Line will put certain things in perspective to allow you, wherever you're at, to gain a certain understanding. Because when you look at the international references on what the definition of a Moor is, referring to any dark-skinned, brown-skinned person of Moorish origin or with skin brown like that of a Moor, and you correlate that with the definition of American, like as it's in the unabridged dictionary, what that means, you understand? Like, for me, there was nothing more eye-opening to me than seeing that definition and realizing it's a fact we from here. I don't care who think what. Like, it's an unabridged fact that this is what the word really refers to. So we really been miseducated in a sense, which has to be addressed. That, hold on, the misuse of the word American, because I understand now through doing the knowledge and the lineage how I'm Moabite. But when I first heard that, I always thought Africa. I never thought here until I really read the lessons of Noble Drew Ali. You know what I'm saying? I thought Africa, Asia. I never connected that to here until I was able to do the knowledge and see, like, oh, okay, this is how the Moabites are, in fact, indeed original to the North America, South America, Central America. So that definition of American is a key point to get people to wake up to the fact that they're original people here. Like, let's get it right for here, and how all of it correlates to the fact that, our history is broader. It is the most, lived out story, if you will, on both sides of the planet. Whether you think it's round, flat, or whatever, it is the chronology of human events and affairs. Even if you say, well, we're not human and all of this, okay, well, then we invented humans, if that's the case. If you think the European is that, like you brothers were speaking on, about them coming from the caves, this is real talk. Like, this is real history. As crazy as it may sound to an uninformed or uneducated man or mind, because man is mind. So certain things you can't perceive is based off of your own, limits and your own mind and your own self or whatnot. But I say that to say that I understand clearly, that even when we say the original people of America, historically you can't forget a Mexim, because a Mexim goes all up on the what we call the West Coast and Midwest region and all of that. Like, it's like, you know, keep in mind this land that you saying you indigenous to, Turtle Island or whatever it is, you know, these borders and boundaries that you see today was not there. So you can't say, you know, oh, well, we Native Americans, but forget Mexicans or forget South Americans or Central Americans or our Moroccans or, you know, and that's one of the things I wanted to point out, because I know that his clip was like, the link you sent me was like 4 hours and some change.
Yeah,
and of course,
yeah.
I didn't have that much time to watch the whole thing.
Definitely did.
But from the beginning, that's what I was hearing him say, and I'm like, nah, all of these is false concepts, you know. So again, and really, they call themselves chiefs, which is really a spinoff of a sheik. So, you know, you can't tell me you're going to call yourself a chief, but you don't have no respect for a sheik, when that's where the word chief actually comes from. So all of these so-called chiefs really is impostering as sheiks.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly. Yep.
Real talk. So the order and the structure, you know, of what Noble Drew Ali was dealing with was more ancient, more respectably ancient than these modern concepts people are using to claim that they're original native Indians or whatnot, and that Moors is some foreigners that came over from Morocco. Yeah, and then if they supposed to be these, you know, exclusive native Indians who, you know, have immunities from the United States and all of that, why aren't they recognized as the first nation to recognize the United States? Well, how is it that Moors, historically, actual factual, are on the record as being first nation to recognize the United States? But so you're telling me out of all of these natives and all of the sellouts and all of that, it took Moroccans, who they say is not from here, to be the first to recognize the United States? Come on, fam. Like, you got to do the knowledge. Use your common sense. It was Moroccans that was already here, which is why they were the first to recognize the United States of America, because the Moors was already here. It wasn't no Indians. Indians are not on the record as being the first to recognize them, good, bad, or indifferent. That's rewritten, restricted history. So we got to really use the common sense. You know what I mean? Because, nah, it's no way. Historically, the evidence is there. It's there, you know. There's no way Moroccans was the first, not country, but nation. And we know how big that word nation is, which is composed also of tribes. But tribes aren't as big as nations. Tribes are parts of nations. So how is it that the Moroccan nation, or the Moors, or Moroccans, our Moroccans, Moabites, they were the first to recognize the so-called United States of America? And as far as any relative, you know, indigenous, aboriginal status goes, you can't overlook Moors as it relates to the relations and treaty relations, constitutional relations with the modern Europeans that, you know, basically essentially are running the corporation known as United States of America. Islam, or
Islam. Brother Yusuf, you there?
Yeah.
Islam, more.
Yo, Islam, more.
Islam. No, I'm just listening right now. Islam, man. Islam, brother.
Islam, Noble, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, man. How you been?
All is well, bro. I'm just thankful to be here. We here on a, you know what's dope though? This is the summer solstice, and what was it? Summer solstice 2016. We was all together.
Well, that's crazy.
So I mean, I'm just thankful for the scenario right now. You know what I mean? For just revolt and culminate.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I didn't. Yeah, but surely though, I know you had more knowledge and wisdom to add on because I know your brothers was breaking down the video. But as far as the video is concerned, that was my initial reaction to it. Like, you know, they just saying anything. They can't really deceive. You know.
Pretty much. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Some of the socialists. As soon as he mentioned it, I had to look it up. I said, "Oh yeah, let me go study that right now." So while you was going in, I was just studying the Summer Socialists. I said, Miz always bringing something extra to the table. I said, I gotta go study that right now, right now.
Yeah, fact.
And that, because that's, you know, that has an impact on everyday life. You know, so you gotta go see what's going on with that. And then again, you mentioned how we was just in 2016 with the Summer Socialists. Now the serpent's biting his tail again right now. With the same thing all over again. That's bugging me out too.
Facts though.
Bugging me out.
It is what it is. Yeah, but it's meant to be like that. That's why I was like, oh man, that's dope. I love the topic y'all was already on, but to add in, you know, just the divine aspects of where we at right now. You know, this is it's always a powerful time. Always a powerful time. And then all of these so-called, you know, when they say these tribal appellations, you know, why is it that you know, it's all over the world. It's a universal science, but everybody observes the summer solstice in every so-called culture. You know, whether that be from North America, there's ancient tales of it. Across East, over the Great Atlantis, is tales of, you know, this being a time for observation, you know, ceremonies and things like that. So, you know, I see more science as universal, bro. And when you in the universal philosophy and rhythm, it's always going to link back up. It's always going to come back around. So for sure, you know, but I think that a lot of people overlook the culture because even when we look at what Noble Drew Ali was saying when he was talking about, you know, he was laying out the geographical boundaries of the Moroccan Empire in chapter 47. You know, even in there, he goes into the natives of San Salvador. He's mentioning Mexico, Peru, all of these places. And then he tell you essentially all of these are Muslims. Meaning essentially they all have the same culture. So it's no surprise that you see, you know, tribes, like so-called tribes or, you know, different tales of the original peoples throughout the land of Amexem have similar customs of observation, whether they be from the western part, the eastern part, you know, north, south, it doesn't matter. The philosophy and the culture is definitely universal. Definitely universal. And, you know, it's funny because we say, well, we know for a fact, you know, Indian is a misnomer. Asiatic is more like it. But even these so-called Indians, you know, was going through the fight of we're not Indians, we're Native Americans. Even they was rejecting that Indian brand. Mm-hmm. So it's just like Moorish is saying we're not black. You had some original people who thought they was Indians have a time frame where they was like, no, we're not Indians. Just like Moors is saying we're not Indians. But we are original to North, South, Central America, Amexem, Morocco. So, you know, I hope that sheds some light on it for those who may not know, but we already know, you know. So, yeah, bro. And I chimed in. I heard y'all briefly talking about, if y'all could reorient me, I heard y'all briefly talking about Danny Glover and Reparations, man. What was that about?
Well, that was basically, I'm hearing that the ADOS and all that is in it too. With this whole idea of going to get reparations or getting reparations, receiving reparations, and having debates on the possibility of that happening or whatever. The same old BS. We have another article here we could put up.
Right on, no. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But just the the usual thing of trying to get something from slave master. You know what I mean? Opposed to being self-sufficient. Instead of exercising the self-determination, instead of doing what Noble Drew Ali ordered for us to do, they want to play Negro. And the messed up part about it is that, it's 2019. These people still want to be slaves from Africa. It boggles my mind that they can go buy whatever 15-bedroom house and they could have 50 cars in the driveway and all that stuff, but they're talking about the slaves from Africa. Like, they can have the best hair and the best nails, the best eyelashes, the best shoes. They can eat the best food, but they're slaves from Africa? And you need something from somebody? Something's definitely wrong with the mindset of the people. Something's definitely wrong.
Right.
Because I don't even see how they, like we were talking about earlier, I don't even see how they can even get past that you're not even a nation. You're saying that you're slaves. You're saying you're Slavics, but you're dark-skinned people. The world knows what slave means. You're saying you're something you're not, and just like Noble Drew Ali said, getting the mistreatment that the citizens care to bestow upon them, and then they're complaining, not recognizing it's ourselves, and then they have the sellouts up there trying to make a name for this.
Right.
But it's the weirdest thing, when I see people talk about reparations still. After going after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting for reparations, nothing happened. And you're still going to meetings? You're still going to debates about this topic? Something's wrong. Something's wrong here. That's insanity. So this one article here was saying slavery reparations hearing ignites fiery debate in Congress. Some witnesses said reparations would damage the relationship between white and black Americans, while others said it was imperative to achieve justice. Should black Americans get slavery reparations? The reparations debate is back.
Right. Same old.
Same old, bro. Just different faces on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And again, it's going back to that thing that they have our people so checkmated that they can't even move. You know what I mean? The game's over. Man's still sitting at the table talking about he's trying to figure out his next move, and the game's over.
Right. It's crazy. Bro.
Obviously, this person's retarded. We're gonna have to sit here and keep playing, pretend like we're playing this game, so he could think like he's winning something.
Right. Sickening, bro.
Sickening. And again, being being able to be involved in the real learning. You know what I mean? Like you were saying, everyday publications, Moorish paradigm, Moore's Order of the Round Table, like Clock of Destiny. The type of information that we had that broadened our perspectives. We didn't have time to think about reparations or whatever. There's so much stuff that we're finding out.
Right, though.
Reparations is the last thing on your mind. Europeans owe us something for slavery or whatever. When you find out that you're not Negro, black, colored, it's the last thing you're thinking about, these Europeans giving you something.
Yeah. Again, that's back to the point. Like, you really got to know the real history. Like, and I say it again, man. Like, when we went to the plantation and it showed how the presidents and them was born on the plantation, I'm like, for sure I wasn't definitely not no slave. They was definitely enslaved. It was them, So, not saying that people didn't get caught up in that human trafficking thing. The industry was definitely very real. But, when it came to our people, what I see is like if you study people like Gabriel Prosser, et cetera, you'll see it was always their own selling them out. The story goes beyond, Noble Drew Ali's days. Like, not that it didn't happen to him, but it's something that's repetitive. Like, those who really don't stand, to be victims of institutions like that, you'll have those who, want to see you fail. And they have always been around. It's nothing new. You know what I'm saying? Just take Gabriel Prosser, for example. And I'm not saying anybody should try to do what he tried to do. But if you listen to how his plan failed, literally these people could change on you on the weather, off of a weather pattern. Like, to have a plan and it rained, and the plan can't go according to plan, and then the next day, because it didn't go according to plan, your plan is blown up and everybody knows it, just off of a weather pattern. Real talk. And I'm saying that because you had those who were comfortable with the mind state of being slaves. And I say this, and that's a real story, but also keep in mind, too, and I know we mentioned this before. I was speaking with my mother about this a couple weeks ago, and someone else, with the whole 40 acres and a mule thing, right? We're talking about a very vast, large ancestral estate, but the 40 acres and a mule was definitely for those who were supposed to be enslaved. But even if you look at the history, how they give it, they say that it was so-called free Africans back then. So everybody wasn't enslaved, and everybody isn't owed anything because everybody didn't go through that. So we all really ain't supposed to be in this mentality of somebody owed us, because that's another trap that, everybody who had dark skin was inferior and was enslaved and they couldn't do nothing, and that's not the truth. That's really not the truth. There was free Moors back then. Facts indeed. So, and there was, free people of these so-called, and I say so-called tribes and whatnot. They was also recognized as free Moors. So, I mean, that story of being in some sort of pain and living a life of hell and all of this wasn't really for everybody. That's not the truth. Everybody didn't experience that. But yeah, bro, I yield the floor back to you, brethren. Islam.
Islam, more. Brother Yusuf, you had anything to add?
Yes, Islam. It's just, too, like Brother Miz was saying, everybody wasn't going through that. But if we look at it on a bigger scale, like we were saying earlier, Moors, well, unconscious Moors playing the victim role, because we also know that the Moors we were the ones who controlled the transatlantic slave trade through the 16th, 17th, well, even the 15th century, all the way up to the 18th century in slavery. We enslaved Christians, modern Europeans by the millions. So, like, even if, well, can we look at it this way too? The 40 acres and the mule, the Slavs, the slaves, when we look at it now, they the ones that got the 40 acres and the mule. We didn't get, they got the reparations because they're the slaves. Those are the Slavic people. And they're the ones that got everything right now. We didn't get, because we're not the slaves, we're the slave masters. You know, we could look at it that way too. You know what I mean? Like, because if you get Brother Abdullah's book, The Moors of Masonry, you know what I mean? He breaks it down perfectly. Like, these people had to get treaties, had to get permission from the Sultan to be able to do anything. And there's plenty of other books. There's a book called The Secret. It's from Jerry Bolton. Oh, here it is, right here. It's called The Untold Story of Elizabeth and Islam, the Sultan and the Queen, from Jerry Broughton, where he speaks about where even the first English navigator, Sir Francis Drake, he had to get a license from the Sultan to be able to circumnavigate all of Africa and come over here and everything. He got a license from the Sultan. Like, these people weren't just being able to just come on the water. How? You can't just come on the water. The Moors are running the water. We're the Barbary pirates, so-called Barbary pirates. How could we be getting shipped from west coast of Africa, which is part of the Moroccan Empire, and we're enslaving Europeans at this time, running the waters? How could slave ships of Moors go past Moors with Europeans controlling them? How? I mean, when you check the record, though, it does break down how Moors, because we've been fighting each other forever, we were hiring Christian mercenaries in our armies to fight each other's wars. Because we also know that we're not slaves or prisoners of wars. Prisoner of war. Only person that's going to be able to imprison a Moor is a Moor. Especially at this time. They don't Christian, Slavic going to be able to capture a Moor. These are all Moors fighting Moors. And Europeans just so happen to get hired as Christian mercenaries and more. Captain John Smith. You get the book, United States and Morocco, 1776 to 1956, from Llewellyn J. Hall. She speaks of Captain John Smith. He's an English slave to the Sultan of Morocco. You can look it up, Google it. He was an English slave first to the Sultan of Morocco. And then he worked his way up to become a Christian mercenary in the Moorish army. They don't talk about all of that. They just make it seem like John Smith was some quote-unquote Pocahontas story. John Smith was a slave. He worked for the Sultan of Morocco. But remember, at this time, Moors are still fighting each other. So, like, everything has to be checked now, you know, like, this was Moors running this whole scenery. Moors was running this whole thing. You couldn't just run on no water. So, like, we really have to look at that slavery thing that they play. Like, they want reparations. How can you get reparations when you're the slave master? Like, that's not, it doesn't work like that. And also, lawfully, like we were speaking earlier in class with the Grand Sheik, lawfully, reparations deals with injuries. Then when you go to the Black's Law Dictionary, it speaks of different types of injuries. But when you look at the injury, it deals with human beings. Negro colors, blacks, African Americans, that's cardboard. That's stateless persons, property, chattel. It has no rights. So if anything gets damaged to damaged goods, nothing's gonna happen. You can't get reparations when you're cardboard. Like, that's impossible. You it's just, you're in there arguing for no reason, marching in, picking in, you having attitudes, but you're stateless. You have no standing in law, so it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen in a lawful sense. Black is not a nation. The Grand Sheik spoke about that earlier. In the article they spoke of it like it's a nation. None of that is a nation. We know where black comes from. That's fraudulent. So for them to even try to slide that in there in the article, the term nation, there is no black nation. That doesn't exist. But I did on my channel or on YouTube, you can find there is a land called the Black Country, and it's in Europe. YouTube it. It's on YouTube. You can YouTube the Black Country, and it's going to be a bunch of modern Europeans with their flag and everything. It's called the Black Country. It's in Europe. So these people keep talking about black power and everything. The Black Country is in Europe. You can Google it, YouTube it. These people they just yelling words, have no idea what's going on. They're getting themselves, putting themselves in slavery, by the words they're using out their own mouth. And like the mothers teach us, they're selling out knowingly or unknowingly. Like, that's the big problem too, because it's making a lot of confusion. Because the whole thing too with the Aboriginal Indigenous Foundation that we were talking about earlier, with them even talking like they're the Aboriginal Indigenous, that whole concept comes from Moorish. That they weren't speaking. These are all new people. We heard R.B. Bay Publications, Mother Roz, Anna Need, Grand Sheik Cujo, Ms. Taj. We heard y'all, the master teachers. We heard you guys talk about Moors being Aboriginal Indigenous to these lands. All this new stuff, if you're not studying, you're gonna get you're gonna get in a lot of trouble if you're not studying, because it's a lot of trickery. And I remember the mother said that probably about 6-7 years ago, how it was a lot of trickery then. So could you imagine now how much stuff is out there that's making confusion because somebody heard a video and didn't go do no studying, now they want to be the guy? That's what it is. It goes back to what the prophet said, jealous of the fame and nobility. Everybody wants to be the guy. The prophet came in 1913. That's the foundation. They try to discredit the prophet. These guys made a 5-hour video about nothing, just mad because they know the Moors are right. They just know the Moors are right. Make a 5-hour video. And it's great. The foundation is what the prophet brought in 1913. That's what it is. Nationality is the order of the day. They like to dance around it, but they didn't. But as long as the Moors aren't around, they'll use the word. They'll use, us as a nation. Well, what's your nationality? But the Moors aren't there to question it, so they get away with it in their little platforms that they do or articles that they write. But like the mother said, we need our own media. Mm-hmm. That's why we got Blog Talk Radio. We got the Canaanland Moors. Grand Sheik got over thousands of videos. You can go back years on Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah.
These new guys come in.
Yeah.
It's still videos. I go back and listen to Ms. years ago. Years ago. I still go back. Years.
Right.
That's the foundation.
Islam.
Facts.
Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. Yo, I just wanted to make note of this too. It's a lot of people that know, in fact and indeed, that they original people too. You know, and some of them correlated to, you know, southeast of Mexico, or what they call Africa today. Now, I don't want to go too far off topic, but I know, shout out to Canaanland Moors, and you've been posting this on your channel like the past week about the Raptors being champions now and all of this, right?
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
Why not?
It's crazy. That's
right
now. Yeah. That's modern history. But hopefully they can wake up to see that when you talk about national, you know, it goes beyond borders and boundaries. So you got champions from Canaanland and all of this, right? But it's interesting because I saw an interview with the brother Kawhi Leonard and Serge Ibaka, which of course that's a so-called African name. Now their choice of food was kind of ill, but the conversation was kind of real because they both referred to themselves as original men. That's what they both said in this interview. And again, their choice of food, I can't co-sign for that, but you know, they both acknowledged each other as that. Cause he said, "Well, where you from?" He said, "Somewhere in Africa." He said, "Yeah, I'm original man." That's what he said. And Kawhi said the same thing. So I'm just saying that, you know, there is a lot of people who do know, you know, our people are the original, but they don't just limit it to being, you know, from one part of the earth. Like, they know the history and the geography of the earth pre, you know, great earthquake that caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. And yeah, just because the land was connected, that doesn't mean it wasn't water. It's just all the land was surrounded by a lot of water at that time. So, you know, and of course you have rivers and streams and things of this nature. But we really got to understand, when we talk original, that it's a platform that existed before we did, which we call Earth. And you know, when you look at that process, even today, because people act like it's impossible for the Earth to had cracked up. And it was in my news feed today. I think today's date is 1 year from when that earthquake in Hawaii happened last year. But when you look at that earthquake, bro, it was splitting the land in half, bro. Like, land was literally split. And I'm like, why they think that this couldn't have happened back then? You know what I mean? Like, this ain't nothing new. This is the result of an earthquake. So if the land could shake up and split in Hawaii last year, and now that island is certain parts that split up from what you known it as 3-4 years ago, you know, you can't just go over it now because there's gaps. You think that continental or that land drift isn't going to happen over a period of many years? That land is going to pull away from each other. And it's the same thing that already happened. So, I mean, you want scientific proof about land splitting and drifting apart. It's always happening, you know? And pardon me, it was either an earthquake. Yeah, it was an earthquake and I think a volcanic eruption at the same time or something like that. But, you know, that's what happened. So it's proof that can happen with land off of earthquakes. Islam. I yield the floor back to you, brothers.
Islam. If I could just add on briefly, real quick, to what Brother Miz was going in on the earthquakes. Just to add on, the Brother Asir, and I had to look it up, and I've been doing a lot of research on it, but he was the first one to mention it, so I just want to give him his credit. In 1812, there was an earthquake called the New Madrid earthquake. Now, people should do a lot of research on this earthquake called the New Madrid earthquake. It was all up and down the Mississippi, Missouri area, and all, like, it ricocheted and was able to travel all over northeast, came up all the way up to so-called Boston, all the way up here. But it started off near the Missouri, Arkansas, in Arkansas territory, near that so-called place, corporation. But all of that, the people should really need to look up the New Madrid earthquake. Like that, and it's still to this day, from 1812 to this day, they say you can still feel the trembles of this earthquake. But nobody talks about this earthquake, which is the truth. You got to do a lot of research. But it's videos now with modern Europeans making couple of videos with talking about this earthquake, this New Madrid earthquake. But it's correlative to the War of 1812, which was a big time part of the colonization of Morocco here. With the War of 1812, people need to study the New Madrid earthquake and the War of 1812 together, because a lot of that stuff is very, like, the earthquake itself helped the British, because they couldn't come around on the other side because the swamps were earthquakes. The swamps were shaking and stuff, so they had the back to them barricade off. Nobody can come. Like, people need to just really look up the earth, that because it still ricochets to this day. That's the thing. Like, you can still feel the trembles near Arkansas Corporation. You can still go there, and the people in the town that tell you to hold on to like a pole or something like that, and you can still feel the trembles from an earthquake that occurred in 1812. So, like, but they don't like talking about the earthquake. But that so this, with the earth splitting and stuff, that's basically what an earthquake is. How the discs can sometimes overlap each other or go underneath. That's the earth going underneath another part of the earth's surface. Like, it's a crazy, like, people really need to study it. Like, it's amazing how, and I'm like, that's correlative to the Pangea. It's the same thing. We still have earth. Like, and when you really think of it, like, how do you know we're not still going through, like, ricochets off of the Pangea effect? Because, time is an illusion. We can still be in that right now with it splitting. Because they can't explain where these mountains because mountains just occur out of nowhere still to this day. Like, they can't explain these occurrences. So, like, the earth movement and how it is like the Alps. We was going over that the other day. The Alps mountains and the Atlas mountains used to connect at one time. Like, all of that used to connect, and they found, and they say over 500 million years ago, but archaeologists have found in the Alps mountain a footprint. But not only was it a footprint, it was a shoe print 500 million years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's not like there's no time when man was not. We was always here.
Right.
We've always been here.
Been here.
So the earthquake, that's, like, and that's, and I advise people to get the book, The Myth of Continents, because these geographical political lines, we also know, like, that's all over the planet. Like, that's not aboriginal how we broke down geography. That's Eurocentric. That's not how we looked at the earth. So people should get the book called The Myth of Continents, and you can see how people they just make up stuff like that's a part of whatever territory. That's another good book to break down, because you can see, like, there's another book called The Basin of Rocks that I got, where it speaks of New Jersey, quote unquote, New Jersey and Mauritania used to connect. Says it plain and basic, just like that. New Jersey and Mauritania used to connect. And then it amazed me because the old Canaanite temple started in, you know, Newark, New Jersey. I was like, you know, if I know that, I'm nobody. You think the prophet didn't know that? That Mauritania and New Jersey used to connect? Or New Jersey is Mauritania, rather?
Facts,
you know what I
bro.
mean?
Yeah.
That's
you know, it's funny you say that, bro. I had brought a piece of petrified wood. And for those who listening and may not know, petrified wood is wood that's so old it turns into stone. Like, we're talking, that's how old the wood, like, so if wood could turn into stone, this is an actual fact. You can Google it, petrified wood. If wood could turn into stone, you got to know how old that piece of land or that piece of earth is. And this piece of petrified wood is from New Jersey. The European who had it for sale was telling me, she said,
"Come on, man.
She said that she didn't think that, you know, what they called New Jersey was that old, because she was saying, you know, from what her understanding was, that New Jersey had just not too long ago came up from underwater. Because, you know, like wherever you see cattails plants growing, you know that it used to be water there. But it's older than that, even what they give as a myth. You know, so I'm just saying that, correlating with what you said about, you know, Mauritania used to be connected to what they call today New Jersey. It's very much so true, and there's, you know, stories to be told by the elements that's around. You know, if petrified wood can manifest, that speaks volumes to how old this land really is. It's not nothing new, you know? So, yeah, I just wanted to add that on to what you were saying, my brethren.
That was crazy. That's crazy. I never knew wood can turn into stone.
Yeah, you think gargoyles was a joke. You thought gargoyles was a joke, right? I did too. Yeah. Real talk, though.
When you think about that now, you have to think, okay, well, if wood could turn into stone, then how much stuff is really stone?
Right, though.
Things that they show you today and say, oh yeah, stone, whatever. Like, everything might not be petrified wood, but...
Right, so like, what is the Grand Canyon?
Right? Like, it was Grand Canyon, it was a forest.
You know? We gotta go there then.
Crazy.
Yeah. So it blew my mind when I found out, too, because I never thought that either. But what it made me realize is that it's a magic on this planet, or it's a science to this planet where anything is actually possible, man. Anything is possible. You can't tell me the land doesn't have the potential to split and drift when wood could turn into stone, right? Like, now,
exactly.
Earth has the power to do that. You gotta talk to me, man, because, you know, but that's the first thing I thought too. I'm like, damn, I didn't know wood could turn to stone, and I thought, oh, maybe it was a science with that whole gargoyle team that they was giving back then. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. It's just like something to be deeper to that. But that in itself is an attestation to you know, the power of the planet. Real talk.
Yeah. And that's some power.
Yeah.
That's some power. Well, yeah, another thing too, with regard to the solstice. Out here, they have the Aboriginal Day proclamation, the National Indigenous Peoples Day, which they use June 21st as that day, again because of the power of the summer solstice. And there was an article that I had up that they were talking about the cultural significance for many indigenous people about honoring the solstice. And it goes back to what we were talking about with a lot of these other so-called Indians, Black Indians, Aboriginal indigenous people. A lot of them don't have anything cultural that they do. You know what I mean? Like Moors culturally have, celebrated Noble Juali Day, got proclamations for those things. Moors have, culturally, went and visited Noble Juali's grave or culturally gone on tours throughout northwest of Mexico, looking at different artifacts, things that have been unearthed that are relative to our people. So we have some type of cultural connection to this concept of the summer solstice, with regard to even Noble Juali. You could look at the summer solstice as one of the quadrants on the Circle 7. So he was dealing with the science of astrology. But you got solstices and equinoxes equaling 4. And all of this is part of our Aboriginal and indigenous Moorish culture. That again goes back to Egypt, Kemet, which again goes back to why there's a Nile over here called the Mississippi and a Mississippi over there called the Nile. And both of them flow south to north. And everybody knows that at one time they were connected. So if they were connected, then obviously it was Aboriginal and indigenous culture for this to be one landmass and all the people being part of the same culture. And this idea of honoring our culture and whatever starts with honoring the universal order. It starts with honoring the solstices, the equinoxes, all the different gates, recognizing the power of the gates and the weaknesses of the gates to help the gates be stronger. And not to take advantage of the weaknesses based on us, like Ms. was saying, knowing the science. And again, all of it comes through having some type of obligation to study. Like Moore studied his culture of quote-unquote Cherokees and found a day in there. Only from studying we find that individual was in his family and he didn't know there was a bay. Nobody said anything. There's a bay in the family and everybody knows there's a bay, but nobody said anything about the bay in the family. There's a bay in the family that just found out he's a bay yesterday. And everybody been knowing he's a bay. Right? Or, through experience, going to the plantation. And you find out some extra stuff that, damn, presidents were slaves or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things that present themselves to us to qualify the position of us being where we are and why we're there. All that things are things lined up because of the stars. Whether we knowingly or unknowingly want to accept it. everything lines up because of some type of astrological significance. Just like we're saying, you know, from 1-6 and then 1-9, again, we're together again in a different form, but the same way. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That it wasn't even a thought to do this. Like it just everything just worked. That it was just like this. You know what I mean? Like I was talking to him more earlier. He's like,
yeah.
You doing class later? I ain't doing no class later. You got Sons of Allah or whatever. I'm trying to save a little bit so freaking Sons of Allah. And they're coming home passing out and then had some energy to get rid of. So we did class. Yeah. Stars lined that up.
Yep.
Stars lined up that individual to be present to receive something. You know what I mean? To receive something from Allah. And then it pan out being that, okay, well, yeah, only because you did the class earlier as Brother Yusuf on the phone, or you wouldn't be on the phone otherwise. You know what I mean?
All right.
You know,
but it's all...
to be at this point, yeah, to be at this point where we're at right now, the stars made that manifest. The alignment of everybody, like even thinking about everybody's day and what they were doing to be at this point right now. There could have been multiple things that you did would have thrown you off, that you might have to cancel class today or whatever. This wouldn't have been able to happen. But something wanted this alignment to happen right now. And then everybody else who's listening or whatever right now at this moment, that we're re-invoking that energy of the 3-year cycle of us coming back together again on the solstice.
Mm-hmm.
Facts, though. I was going to say we should have been did this, but this was the perfect timing. Can't even say what should have been. This perfect timing. Yeah.
Right. That's the ritual.
Yep.
Yeah, and on that note, when we was out there, because we got into some different things at different times. Well, I gotta say, man, that was like either my first or second time being out there in so-called Pittsburgh, so-called. And I just want y'all brothers to know for sure that experience being out there from what I saw and what your brother said you saw with the statue of the Moor and all the Moors out there on those stained glass windows at these so-called churches and all of that. We know those were, you know, let me put it like this. I've seen so much Moorish architecture out there. It in fact and indeed changed my perception on life and where we're at now. Like, that's how much Moorish architecture I've seen out there. In so-called Pittsburgh, which is right by the Alleghenies. You know, we were speaking the mountains and whatnot. You know, it's an elevated place. But for y'all, man, I mean, like, what was that like? Because I know y'all even tried to go to a temple. I wasn't with y'all when y'all tried to go, but I know I recall y'all speaking about going to a temple, them trying to neglect y'all. But outside of that temple, like, didn't you see, or was it just me, that seeing all of this Moorish architecture around? And have you been in a place that you've seen anything more significant, you know, than there? Because I don't know if I have, bro. Like, as far as the architecture is out there. And every block is like a historical landmark. Every block.
There's something everywhere. There's something everywhere there. That's for sure. It wasn't missing a beat. Especially when we were on the side of the river that we were on, and then we could see the different, you know, architecture that was used. Even from there, you could see. You know what I mean? From the building perspective. And then the one that killed me was St. Benedict on top of the church. That was the one that killed me. Like that solidified some stuff to me that this is they really honor the Moors. You know what I mean? If anybody wants to look it up, actually let's look it up right now. The St. Benedict the Moor Church in Pittsburgh. At the top of it has St. Benedict the Moor with his hand stretched out, big as day.
The picture doesn't give it justice.
Yeah, the picture doesn't give it justice at all. At all.
Because it's like the whole scenery going to it. Like, it's like once you get, because you don't see it, but it's like you're coming around, but it's miles away. But as soon as you come around that corner, it's like, wham. Yeah. It's like that's the first thing you see. It's like, what is that up there? He's like the whole area. He's up there like I'm like the top of his head. If you stand on it, you can see the whole thing, every area around you. He was like nothing was higher than him. Nothing was.
Yeah. Everything like that. That was mind blowing.
Look at that. Yeah, I'm seeing what you got on the screen right now. That's Moorish architecture all day, bro. All day.
That's a good one. That's a good one right there.
That's crazy.
Right, and
it just doesn't stop out. It's like whatever. It's there.
Yeah.
It's there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. He looked like Yahshua, the emblem they used for Yahshua, but with no cross on it.
Mm-hmm.
Much, yeah.
Remember we saw that green sheet? Remember we were going past, I forgot what the name of the street it was, but we looked at some church and that had the pentagram on right on it. Like they were trying to cover it up in the front, but they didn't cover it all up. It was huge, man, right on this historical church that looked like it was about to be boarded up in a minute.
Yeah.
It was too much architecture down there for the Moors, man.
Yeah.
Just real quick,
it's
just
crazy.
to even
Go ahead, my brother. My fault. I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh,
I don't.
Okay, as well. Just because the Grand Sheik had mentioned when we were standing over there by like the river area, like that whole part was surreal too. Because we're standing there building, and then out of nowhere, these deer just came out of nowhere. It was a whole family of them just came right around us out of nowhere. Broad day, it's daylight. The deer just came out of nowhere, came around the moors. We were over there just building, and deer just come out. And we're overlooking the scenery because, like Brother Miz said we're up, we're high elevated, we're up very high, so you could see literally like how the more like because there's so much water, but we're like on a mountain type thing up high elevated, and we ran the waters, so we were like imagining like this whole area was just boats all right here because that was the highway. The water was the highway. So we just imagine this whole thing filled with Moors, with boats and everything. Like you couldn't, like, and you can see how the setup was too. Like in order to get in here, you have to go through that impenetrable fort right there in the front first. You can't even get to the land. You got to go through all of that. And like just seeing it from the mountains, it was amazing. Like, that's how it was set up. It's just letting you know, like, that's how it was set up. And then you're looking at, Miz got me going crazy because he's saying how the wood turned into stone. Now I'm just, because that mountain, there was a lot of stone. It was even an area where we were looking, and we like, you can even tell like something was there. Because on this huge old mountain area, you can just see like something was built into the mountain. like that. I'm glad you brought that up, brother.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought that up because when I was in the Catskill Mountains, it bugged me out. Like you couldn't tell me. Like the stones look so precise. Like, you know, you looking like it's mountains, but they could be very well overgrown pyramids. It could really well be. And in the foundation, you see a lot of stones so precisely laid. I was like, man, these look like old buildings. These don't look like no mountains. You know what I mean? I mean, some of them do, but when you riding through them, like, because basically the pathway is cut straight through the mountains. And it's like, man, I don't know, man. These look like old buildings. Another place that's like that was so-called Cincinnati. When we was riding through Ohio on both sides, because, you know, they spoke about the mounds and everything that's out there. Before I went, you know, I studied the place a little bit. So I'm looking, and I'm like, these do not look like mountains, man. These look like mounds. And you know how they name places after the attribute it has. So, like, maybe a mile down the road after I said that to me and everybody who was riding, we see the sign, "Welcome to Moundsville." And I'm like, okay, yeah, these was mounds. You can't tell me it wasn't, because I know the vibes. I felt the vibes. Like, nah, to the naked eye, to an untrained eye, they might have been so-called mountains, and I'm not saying it isn't mountains out there, but remember who took the European to the caves. You know what I mean? So we had established caves before anybody. You understand? So it's like, when you look at that, it's not an impossibility that some of these things were, or even to this day, made it just turn to petrified wood, because like we were speaking about earlier, you know, the land that rose from up under the ocean and land that's at the bottom of the ocean, etc., is interchangeable. I'm sure they had their different phases, and there's some land to this day that probably still didn't come up from under the ocean. Imagine what that's going to be like when that happens. So, I mean, you know, it's nothing impossible. Everything goes through its cycles. But, yeah, it's a very, very interesting dynamic. When you start traveling right off the East Coast in the elevated land, it's like a lot of natural facts. You just be like, how did this happen? How did this get there? Who put it there? So, yeah, Morris, with that, I yield the floor back to you, brethren.
It's all me. And then another aspect too is the Pangea, with, you know, them being so limited in their perspective that you don't even have to put the pieces of the puzzle called a landmass together to see that it was one landmass at one time. Obviously, it was one. It might not have been called Pangea or whatever like that, but the fact remains that all this was one landmass at one time. There's no avoiding that. There's zero avoiding that. So this place being one landmass would obviously mean that it's one people. And again, the European psychology of, you know, continents and this idea of Europeans having a home in the East, but everybody keeps calling them West when they have nothing to do with the West. And the only thing that they would have to do with the West would be Yucatan Peninsula and their creation in the Yaqub story. Is the only way that they're tied to the West. Other than that, they're not even European. So that's not even their jurisdiction. So if you go back, and again, nature knows no color line, and ancient and modern Britons, you know who the true founders, rulers, heads of Europe were, not some Europeans. Now again, going back to the whole slavery idea, and how are these people talking about taking people in slavery when they live in a barn and stuff like that, and they bathe 3 times a day and all that,
right?
3 times a year. What do you mean they were enslaving somebody? How is it that people with no culture enslaved people with a culture, took their culture, and then now the people with no culture have a culture, and the people with a culture are dumbasses? And then they don't really realize that they got played out of their own stuff by keeping on with the illusions. It's documented fact by people's actions. If somebody can go from China to the continent of Africa and tell Africans who are from there, F you, we're going to build the roads and stuff here now, forget you guys, and they get all the contracts or whatever. And then Africans are mad because they came there and they took the jobs from the Africans and all this. They did that because they know that they're Asiatic. And the world was once Asia. And Africa is Asia. So they can go there and take advantage. We'll get mad at them because Africans took colonial terms from their little independence BS from these Europeans that colonized Africa. Go get Walter Rodney, how Europe underdeveloped Africa. Lays out the whole stuff of what they did over there. And then you have some people from over here telling you about leave here to go over there and build over there up. When they don't have any connection to over there. Again, if we say that the world was once Asia, then that means everybody's Asiatic. And if everybody's Asiatic, then everywhere is the founders of civilization, because we were everywhere. We weren't limited to one little pocket on this whole globe or this whole flat surface or whatever. Whoever said that they went outside of Earth's atmosphere to see what this looks like. The only people who have some type of tie to land are Moors out here. Aboriginal and indigenous. To everywhere. That's why we keep telling you, go back and check all the different African countries, and all their tribal heads have feathers on. All of them, from the Dogon to the Sudan, Congo, Nigeria. They recognize the quote-unquote history of the Moors. And the ones that do that play safe. The ones who don't, then they're left victim to gentrification and anything else that these colonizers want to do. Because they threw away their birthright for crumbs. And now they're complaining. And now they want to debate Moors about, are we Moors or aren't we Moors, and we're African and we're not African, and nonsensical things. You think when you look at Francis Cress Welsing and stuff like that, going and debating these Europeans on some science, you think she's going to go after them for reparations the day after? You think when they debate all these Europeans about our people, the dark-skinned people, really, bastardize and whatever like that, and they go through the whole stuff, you think in 4 months they're going to be talking about, yeah, Mr. William Shockley, could we get some reparations because you and your Europeans did some BS to us? all that matters is we give honors, one, to the supreme force, two, to all the prophets and all the whoever, seers and whatever that came to teach these people of the planet who, I guess at some time, all these people were dumbasses and needed these individuals to bring them some type of light so they can get out of their darkness. And here we are again, the Moors, bringing the light so that these people can be woken up out of their darkness, out of their slums, thinking that they're not Asiatics because they're not Asian. The hell are you guys talking about? Oh yeah, if you're a Moroccan, if you're a Moor, you're foreign to the United States because Morocco is in Africa. But they're not recognizing that there's Tangiers over here, and that there's Moab over here, and that there's all these so-called African names over here. And nobody's debating the places that have the African names over here, but they're talking BS about Moors. Islam, more. I think I yield the floor. Done ranting.
Islam, indeed. Let me check the line. We had a couple of callers. Hold on, my fault. It's notifying me of something. Okay. All right. So, I don't know. You're gonna open up the lines. What time we at? We at 10:27. I don't know more if y'all want to. Yeah, 10:30. Got about we halfway through the broadcast time frame. So if y'all want, we could open up the lines and start some dialogues. I'll start with caller 682-360. You're live on the air. You with us, fam?
Islam, can you hear me?
Peace,
Yes, indeed.
Peace, man. It's always good to get on here, speak with my brothers. I was listening to the broadcast. I caught it a little late, so I hope I don't get too much off topic. I think it was Tuesday. I think Miz was speaking about Noble Ali being an adept in Egypt or in the Egyptian knowledge.
An Egyptian adept student.
Yeah. And how he took our people and used the Bible at first, and then as they got into the adept, he kind of took them back to Egypt, like he was saying. He was
well, really all of that. My fault, I don't want to cut your wisdom, but to put it in perspective, on another degree, what they call the Holy Bible, it really does come from so-called Egyptian philosophy. Like, it really does. Yeah, that's where it came from. But it was misused, right? So, like, they were, even to this day, I'll share this with y'all. I seen a sister in a restaurant, right? And in the restaurant, it has the hand sanitizer. And it's owned by some Moors, unconscious though they may be. It's still a Moorish establishment. So I always use the hand sanitizer before I hit the line and get the food. So she seen me do that, and she came over and did the same thing. So we started talking real briefly. I don't mean to cut your wisdom, but I want to explain on that concept of how vital those lessons were, because she insisted that I was her brother through Adam and Eve. And I was telling her, well, I feel like you my sister through God, if that's what you're trying to say. because there's clearly a difference between Genesis 1:26 through 31 and the Genesis 2 where you're talking about Adam and Eve, because then who was the people that God created? You know what I'm saying? Did they just disappear? How did, you know what I'm saying? And her response to me was, oh, you're being too literal. That's what she said. But these lessons was meant to wake them up. You know what I'm saying? It's for them, not me. So I didn't want to like try to, you know, force it upon her. But it was like, you know, Noble Drew Ali said, if I could get you to think again, then, you know, you can free yourself. Now, I know she went back and read that Bible and was like, oh, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's true. It's no way you can ignore that fact that, you know, because I asked her, I said, so as a woman, you believe that you came from a man of rib, from the rib of a man. And her response was, anything is possible through God. Is another thing she said. But I'm like, you know, that's the rib of Adam. No, I'm telling you, man, like, we got some stuff to put in perspective. But I didn't want to cut away from your original add-on. I just wanted to expand on that Bible concept of how he was using it to break the spell for people in that mind state. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what it was.
Exactly. Now, you didn't cut my wisdom. You actually led me into what I was saying. That when she was saying that, when like Noble Drew Ali said, you were speaking to her in your higher self, because the descendants, it says, what is the descendants of Adam and Eve? It says, give the names that are given to the descendants of Adam and Eve, and it says Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. And when I think about it, that Adam and Eve creation is the flesh, not the spirit. That's not the light. Before we slowed down our vibrations and got the garb of flesh, we was light. So in reality, we are all connected through the spirit and not the flesh. That was a great point. And I was just looking at that when it said, and then it says, what is the devil sometimes called? And that's the lower self. And how many cells are there? Two, and higher self and lower self. So we have the higher self within the lower self flesh. If I'm making any sense.
More. Yeah.
And
yeah.
Yeah,
the
so
descendants of Adam and Eve.
Right. So when you're looking at it from a physical point of view, you know, who were Adam and Eve? They are the mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatic and Muslim. But from a spiritual point of view, you know, we are connected through Allah. Amen. And back to the Egypt, yeah, because it was crazy. I was looking up some Egypt. I was looking up some things about Egypt, and I ran into Atum, Atum, was one of the first. Yeah, it was one of the first gods, the Egyptian gods, and then I thought about Atum and Eve. And I'm like, that's where they got that concept.
It's exactly where they got it from. God, evolution of God. Adam and evolution.
Right.
Atomic evolution. That's what Adam and Eve really is. It's atomic evolution of natural people, natural things manifesting. So, yeah, in a sense, we do come from the source of creation, in a sense. It's creative forces, but it's not like the creator. Like, excuse me, it's basically a co-creative force. You know, because it's something that manifested that creative energy.
As far as atom?
Yeah, atoms and evolution is creative energy.
Oh, okay.
Like whenever you talk about atoms, yeah, and evolution, like you're talking about creative process in a sense. And that's really what it is. Exactly, the molecules, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, positive, negative, neutral, the trinity of creation. But those are, they're sublime stories, because even Noble Drew Ali, being an Egyptian Arab student, it's a Gnostic book called The Light of Egypt, and they're going in on breaking down a whole lot of codified philosophies. And they're speaking about, when it speaks about Scorpio, it says that Scorpio was really the snake in the garden with Adam and Eve. So you got to remind yourself too, these are codified stories, that we're supposed to be given the reference points to actually be able to study it, So that's basically what it is. It's like the periodic table. Everything has an abbreviation to refer to what it is. You know what I mean? So, like, you could say cool, but that's copper on the periodic table. It has a code word. Well, the whole Bible is codified in a sense.
Yeah.
Some things are, it's just like that. So if you don't know the periodic table or the tools of understanding to read those books or those tools, you miss the point. It's just like a bunch of squares and numbers in them, unless you know what those things mean. So this is how you get involved with the elements,
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was just speaking on it because I heard that the other day, and I was just getting into because I was reading the Bible at first, and then as I'm finishing up on that, I'm going into Egypt and seeing how, even with that eye that he put on the red book, and it was, I forgot who eye it was, but he had went and took his eye and cried, and that was the first humans. I want to say Atum, the god of Egypt.
Yeah. Well, again, now you're getting even into, back to the Circle 7. Because all of that is supposed to, when you see something like, he cried from one eye and the human race was formed, these are also keys Noble Drew Ali was giving you to understand you're reading a cosmological story, right? Because it's something in the 101s, where Noble Drew Ali mentions about the 7 eyes of Allah. What is that? Elohim. So as soon as you see any story about an eye in creation, you're supposed to think astrology, cosmology. Now you're reading the story right. You could pick one, sun, moon, the sun or the moon, or any of the other 5 Eloah. And that's how you are able to interpret these stories for how they was codified to be conveyed to the child, for the child to have understanding growing up. But we've missed a lot of, those time frames of learning that. So we're figuring this out at older ages, but it still makes sense, So anytime you see something like that, just know you're reading cosmology.
Yeah, and another quick interjection too is if you don't have, make sure you have a metaphysical Bible dictionary whenever you're studying the Bible. That's another tool that you could use to interpret faster.
Okay.
Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. So certain words in scriptures have metaphysical meaning, which would give you a deeper perspective of the parables and the metaphors that were taken out of the Egyptian text in order to create this thing that they got now called Christianity or whatever. Because all of that, as Miz was saying, goes back to the Gnostic.
Okay.
So you can, there's an online version that you could use, and then you could actually get the book, Metaphysical Bible Dictionary.
All right. Yeah. And the Elohim, I was thinking about the Elohim. I can't remember the verse, but it was talking about the Elohim being the seven creative spirits, but it was saying something about how they was vibrations or frequencies. If I'm not mistaken. I don't want to get it wrong, but
yeah, they began to vibrate slower still.
Right.
Yeah, I believe you're talking about chapter 1 when he's talking about the ethers began to vibrate slower still. You know, because vibration could be high or low. Some things manifest from a low vibration. Some things the vibration has to influx and then slow down to manifest. You know, so it's like that's another thing. Again, going back to studying the science of 7 or the circle 7, it's not just a book.
Yeah.
You know, because rhythm is definitely one of the 7 hermetic principles, which has correlation to vibration. Rhythm and vibration are correlative. So, you know, you really got to understand the science of the 7 when he was saying, you know. But that's basically what it is. So,
yeah. And I was thinking when I heard that, I was thinking that we have 7 major chakras in the body, and I was thinking maybe if those 7 Elohim are connected to those 7 chakras vibrating on different vibrations as it goes down to the red being the lowest vibration and purple being the or white or whatever the crown chakra is being the highest vibration. So I was thinking maybe
right and exact.
If that correlates.
And then remember that those Elohim also relate to the 7 days of the week.
Okay.
And then those Elohim also relate to the 7 golden candlesticks.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the scriptures. And those 7 Elohim relate to the 7 deadly sins and the 7 cardinal virtues. And anything that's in 7 is the 7 Elohim. Especially if they present it at 7. You know what I mean? Like not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When the 7 whatever, 7 this, 7 that, 7, they're talking about the Elohim. And like you're saying, vibrating at whatever form they're being perceived as.
Okay. Yeah, because everything vibrates.
Because everything vibrates. The table that I'm on right now is vibrating. It's vibrating slow, but it's vibrating. It's not vibrating as fast as smoke, but it's vibrating.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You ever seen that movie Lucy when she sped up the tape? Y'all ever seen Lucy?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
She sped.
That was a good one.
She sped up the tape. Yeah, and the car disappeared. and she was explaining like I forgot what she was explaining. Like that was life before things slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was just thinking, man. I was trying to just think, and I just be thinking. And it was one more thing I was thinking about. I was in the 101s. He said something about the holy bread, and he said it was. It said what have you to say about the holy bread? And it says all we can say is it is great, it is good, it was, it is, and evermore to be. And then it says Amen. And I was like, I kept thinking, like, why did he put that amen in there? Like, what, you know, I didn't know if he was saying a prayer or what, but as I went and looked up.
Because he's the Egyptian Adam. And amen is really amen.
Amen was the god of wind, right? Or air.
Amen Ra.
Yeah, Amen Ra.
Yeah, that's why you put it in
before. Right, and I was like, dang, it made sense once I went back to my ancient mothers and fathers, and I started studying what they left, and I was like, okay, he had to take us through those first degrees so he can get us to that, back to our ancient mothers and fathers.
Exactly.
Man, that's beautiful thing he left, man. Beautiful thing as it unfolds. But
that's why he's the prophet, and he should be getting his honors from all these individuals who claim that, you know, they want reparations and they want freedom and they want rights and whatever. How about give some honors to Noble Drew Ali and get those things instead of playing around?
Right.
So yeah, I ain't gonna take up too much time, man.
Islam, man.
Islam, I appreciate y'all letting me speak. And all praise due to Allah. My highest honors to Noble Drew Ali. My high honors in physical form to y'all for waking up the people and continuing what he left and keeping us on what he left, you know, so that we can get these lessons and uplift fighting humanity. So I appreciate y'all, man, and Islam, peace and love.
Like,
please move.
Peace to you. Thanks for calling me. Certain. All right. That being said, we're going to go to the next caller. Caller 412-727. You live on the air. You with us?
Islam. This is Energy calling out of Northwestern Maxim. How y'all feeling?
All is well. How about yourself?
I am so enjoying my now. And I appreciate the fact that you all are a part of my now in this film. I've always liked the way you two flow. Pooja, you always keep it a buck. You just say, dude, why is you trying to claim the broom closet when this is all yours? Stop it. You know, and there's like the facts and the figures you put down on the table and the, you know, in the time that I've known of you all, you know, and are helping me to, you know, get clear, utilizing the same keys left by Ali. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. You know, I appreciate the work that you all doing to uplift fallen humanity, to which I represent in the physical flesh. And I know that this is Mother's work out here, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. And at times in the geographical area that I domicile in, here on on the land in these neck of the woods. I feel like I'm the only one, but I'm okay with that, you know. And I'm glad of those encouraging words way back when. If you got to be the only one, be the only one. I ain't got no problems with that. Just being myself out here, you know, and being clear out here, you know, what and who's who. That's so beneficial. And when you get into these conversations with those individuals like who you spoke with, Ms., our sisters and brothers of that mindset, that's what good comedy is made of. You know, it writes itself. How can you miss the point? All this division you insist on throwing there because of your affiliation, and so forth is gone due to a something put down on paper. I mean, I'm vibing to what is cosmic and that which is unknown as well. So I'm just grateful for the work that y'all do. I don't like to use the word proud if it has some non-beneficial connotations to it, but y'all know what I mean. I'm proud to be, you know what I'm saying, affiliated with you fellas, that y'all know who I am and what I am. And I'm going to yield the floor on that unless there's dialogue y'all would like to open with me. See how far I didn't study and came along.
Well, yeah, it's definitely on point when that you are a mother, a sister, but the fact that I don't want to like blow your spot up, but you generally have experience in the area of North America that we were talking about, as far as so-called
handling my affairs out here.
Huh?
I said exactly, handling my affairs out here on the land. I know who I am.
Right.
And a lot of people, you know, don't have that experience, so they still scared to make those moves. But really, trust me, if you start studying, you're going to be tried. That's just how it goes. And once you're tried, if you know what you're doing, you're not going to go through that again.
Right.
You won't have those issues. But if you don't know what you're doing and you jump out there, then you're looking for somebody to blame and blah, 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 whatever, when you didn't do what you were supposed to do. I just recently went to the RV Bay publication website after quite some time, and I was amazed at some things that was needed to be published concerning, you know, family coming at the publication. I don't understand that, but I do get it. Working on that low vibration stuff, working from lower self, you know, and that's wild. But yeah, I do have the experience out here, and I'm grateful to be available for those that's immediately around me, like the houses that's around me. Lisa to our left, and Brittany and Brianne to my right, and Linda across the street. Minnie another house down. You know, to see the flag flying from the house, and one is also in the window, and I have to let my sister know because her grandbaby tell me, yeah, my grandma say that that's the sign of the devil. And I giggle.
Wow.
I can't be mad. And I appreciate the baby saying something, and I'm appreciating being able to be in the position to clear my baby's head because I am mother. I do not play with this position. I have fun with it. You know, but nonetheless, I'm grateful to be in this position because of people like Cujo, the first person I ever spoke to, considering the Moorish paradigm, you know, and leading me to your mom, Roz. You feel me? And then just hearing her progeny just doing what he do out here. Man, giving me all kind of hope. I got 4 sons and a daughter out this joint. And I'm doing my part to, you know, y'all definitely set a bar that is necessary. I wish you all would be in the house this Saturday, but I know that's, you know, physically most likely not possible. But trust and believe your works, you know, they definitely going to be seen in this gathering of celebration. And yes, I did deem it originally Celebration Day. Yeah, people get uptight when you say more, but I get it. I am more. I am a more. I am energy. So we're not even going to get in this conversation. And I love the way you broke it down Cujo, when you were speaking on, getting caught up on, the smaller aspect, and it's not about that. It's about, as you said, I'm not going to attempt to reiterate the words that you used, but nonetheless, like you said, it really comes down to just, you do you, I'm doing me. I'm not going to violate you. That's not my intent. I have a particular creed that I manifest by, and that has nothing to do with trying to defraud you or harm you in any way, man or woman. So, and to maintain my life like that, and have to deal with your neighbors who feel that they got a right to do these things because of what their jobs say. Anyway, forget your job, lady. Forget the job, son. I'm talking to you as a man or a woman. Now, if you wish to try to overstep your bounds, try to go into a jurisdiction where you have no authority at whatsoever, you have no delegation of authority order. I don't have a contract with you or the agency that you are employed by. You don't really wish to open this can of worms. That's all I'm saying. And you all have allowed me to be able to express myself in this way. It was always there, because that's what we are. We're just in a shallow grave. If we would just get up off our arrogance and reckon and be honest about our ignorance and just do the work. Study, study, study. And it's there you go. It's something to do in the day. You want to be on that paper chase? Then chase that paper. It's called books. You know what I'm saying? Some pages. Chase that paper, you know what I'm saying? The stuff that got you bound is paper, so go on and correct your, you know what I'm saying, status. Use them with declarations or those notices and that declaration that is published and provided from RV Bay Publication. I mean, over how many years? How many people use it? Yeah, the unity is there. The work is being done. So anybody that try to cast slander, you're just basically showing where you're at with your existence. You low self. But you're not, anybody who's trying to, come at whatever work that an active Moor is doing on the land, whatever land it is, whatever corporate construct they want to call it, or as you say, continents and blah, blah, blah. Wherever an active Moor is doing work on the land, anybody to try to cast slander on them, yeah, it's a pit to digging for yourself. We're good. So, my bad. I went on a tangent. But I'm glad to be able to share with you all.
It's all good.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We appreciate that for sure. For those.
Can I share one more thing?
Definitely. Oh, absolutely. Go right ahead.
My speech has been, let's just say, being cultivated since, I say, 96. So this is the divine part for me. I'm speaking on the Moorish national, the divine and national movement, the Moorish divine and national movement of the world. Excuse me, my 4-year-old's in here squeezing my elbow. Stop the boy. I was given the opportunity to really get to experience what we call Allah, Most High, Self. And the first thing that I did read in those days was the first Bible I was given was at that time. And the first thing that I read out that Bible was Psalms 23. And the very first verse out of that particular psalm changed the way I speak. So, that being said, words like government, I don't use it no more. I ain't calling it government because it ain't government, it's neighbors. It's your neighbors doing it. Somebody's got to push this paper around. Somebody's got to give activation to whatever is put on paper. So it's your neighbor. I don't use government no more. I don't try to say, I'm near the Pittsburgh Corporation, this, that, other thing. When I'm talking face-to-face to people, I'm in this neck of the woods. So I say things like, this is the ways of my people. Yes, I use cannabis sativa. No, I don't know what marijuana is. Never seen it before in my life. But, yes, cannabis sativa and cannabis indigo is the ways of my people. It is a part of my culture, my traditions. And, yeah, I don't have an issue with that at all. But marijuana, weed, pot, whatever the fuck, I don't know what that stuff is. it's hard to play the game on people who actually roll like this, who actually define things for themselves. You see what I'm saying? Explore the matter that is held, let's just say, in the majority, a certain particular concept that is just so ill-fitted for your experience. Oh, yeah, you can do it, but how's that been working out for you? So how my words has been able to change, that divine side was definitely being cultivated so early, and then studying what is erroneously called goddess, information. But I've been studying, mother for over 20-plus years. So, yeah, the divine part was definitely being established in me in a way that I wasn't really aware of it. It wasn't something I was working on or anything like that. So when it came down to this whole national part, I ain't wish to be part of nobody's politics, blah, blah, blah. But see, my divine part is set straight. So I'm clear, and I'm able to roll with this information and utilize it to handle my affairs amongst the men in the world without issue. Really, seriously, no issue. And I appreciate being in that position, and I'm grateful to be of, service to others to assist them in reaching this particular plateau and beyond, of course. So I just felt like sharing that. I changed the way I definitely speak differently. My neck of the woods, I don't have government. I have neighbors who, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, now I give the floor.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
Mubaha, what is you doing? Oh, did I tell y'all we started our own language? We've been developing over the last 5 years, shortly before he was born, the one laying here. Yeah, we have Sasa Lawu. Anybody actually chime in? So yeah, and that's a fascinating experiences that I'm finding too, just to be able to do this and be able to be in public, but also still stay private.
Right.
Sasa Lawu. So he's successful energy divine L. In Sasa Lawu, it is Mubaha Ufahe Mugani L. I love that.
Oh, that's peace. That's what's up. You holding it down for your young nationals coming up. You got your clan going on, and that's a creative thing. Now we just need the dictionary, the etymology dictionary, for what the language you created is. So we might be privy to speak.
It's being documented.
There you go.
It's all being documented. I'm laying. We was just working on it before I got on the line. Actually, it's laying right up under me. Yeah, we've been working on this for a while. We have script. We have our number system. There's only 21 letters in it. I'm saying letters for the layman's on the line. However, like I said, it's script, symbolism, that kind of thing. And yeah, it's several pages. And we've all contributed to it. My eldest, Daniel, Laila, Allah, successful, my mother, others who visit us, and they've taken an interest. Yeah, we're building this dictionary, this language up. Isn't that how it's been done? Well, anyway, who knows? But I know we have it. I'm so grateful.
Right. Well, that's deep, sis. You keep staying in your very own creative energy. That's always a good thing. As long as it's sincere, that's a very beautiful thing. So I suggest, I don't think you need my suggestion. Keep on doing what you're doing if it's working for you,
Oh, it's definitely
that being
right.
said,
Mm-hmm.
yes, indeed. that being said, we don't really have any more callers as of now. I don't know if you want to say anything in conclusion, Brother Yusef, Cool Joe, Energy. But that's what we have.
Brother Yusuf stopped already. Brother Yusuf stopped already. He had to split.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's feast up. That's feast up. Oh, all right. I already know. I see 11111. This got to be Brother Balanzi. I know it is. Let's see.
It's my friend.
Hold up.
Yes,
Peace,
indeed,
brother.
brethren.
Brother Balanzi.
Yes, indeed, brethren.
Yeah.
How y'all feel today? I love your
Peace,
show.
more
You're hitting on topic. Sons of Allah coming to you live and direct. Hard body style, more style. I love it, man. How y'all coming?
Yeah.
Y'all came right on time, man. I can't wait for you to come on these shows, man, so y'all can give it to them. Y'all doing the knowledge, man. It's so good to see that,
right.
Man. Now, I want to ask y'all some questions because I know y'all got the right answers. I know y'all surface on YouTube, right? Y'all be surfacing on YouTube, peeping things out, seeing what's going on, who's talking what. I want to know especially from Cujo, because this person is from up there where you at, in Canaanland, up in Canada, but now they reside out in the islands. They running around, running this word that that we can't be using in our talk. And it's sad to see that they're using this word so much on YouTube, like they promoting this about these Indians, when it's been told time after time after time after time, Moors are no Indians and will never could be an Indian, because India is over there on Indian land, across the water. All right. So I want to know from you, why is the sister Noble L blowing the spot up and blowing that word up so much that we tie with Indian?
You notice that L is capitalized, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like saying, she says some good things sometimes, then she starts slipping. So I know you probably catch it now and then. Y'all be peeping YouTube. I know you probably see that.
Yeah, but that's how it goes with people who don't study.
Right, you don't study them. You just know that they're around and what they do.
No. I'm saying that's how it goes with people who don't study. They keep slipping.
Right. And they got this other one that's out here promoting this other thing with the counselor corps. I know you're aware of them.
Yeah, same thing.
That big time,
New people who came yesterday claiming that they have authority.
Huh?
There are new people that came yesterday claiming that they have some authority. It's the same thing.
Right. And did you ever notice they mean good, right? So let's be honest. People that do happen to get a taste of who they really are, and they really want to go all out after they find out by doing a little bit of research and be like, wow, scratching their head. Oh, I got played. Now I better get on my A game. But there's always sidetracks around throwing them off track, and they want to run with it. It's like they quoting certain things that a lot of us would say, and then they start going back. No, we got to get this when this stuff is already in place, What we got to do is enforce it, like the prophet told us. Noble Drew Ali. And they be trying to slander that title. But they going to learn, they going to know in the end for slandering the prophet's name.
Yeah.
And I just had to, I had to touch on that. Because and you keep your eyes wide open. Because we don't know it all, but we know just enough because everything is in our DNA. It's like it slowly wakes up. You sit back and observe and do the knowledge and the meditation on it with the third eye. And you be like, wow. A lot of us, boy, that are really, really, has, what's that word they use so much? Psychosis. It's like, they don't realize that the stuff is really like, a block is going on up in that third eye where they need to clean it out severely through fasting and detoxing and eating the right foods and staying away from the toxic foods at all costs from the little bit you can do, Because a lot of us ain't going to make it,
Yeah. And I think the sooner we realize that, the sooner we can start separating who is and who's not going to make it and stop worrying about, what everybody else is doing, because it was already prophesied everybody's not going to make it. So when you see those lost ones, all you can try to do is put the information out there. But I think that what you see is what Yahshua said when he said, I hold my hand out all day long to a hard-hearted, and rebellious. These people is hard-hearted, and rebellious, and not even called by his name. You know what I'm saying? Right. So he had to have a attribute of patience to deal with them, and these was the ones suffering from a lack of knowledge. And it's like almost like the ignorance is contagious, because you can't tell. It's certain people. You can tell sincere teachers, those who have accurate information, and then those who just want to get so-called recognition, for having a video or whatnot, So it's a difference. It's a big difference.
Right.
And it's so many millions of people in this world. Millions. It's like it's going to be so many different points of view. And that's just is what it is. It's going to be so many different points of view. And we're just going to have to really, accept that, teach the truth. But just keep in mind that, it's always going to be somebody who just doesn't know, All
right. Would you say a lot of it took place with that COINTEL that took place after Noble Drew Ali was transcending away when he passed on?
Before that,
really
bro. Before that.
It was way before that, right?
Before that, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then it's just sad because even when he came on the scene, he had to suffer symptoms of what was already on the scene, which was sellout. You know what I mean? It didn't start in Noble Drew Ali's day. That's why I say, and this is not in the sense to promote violence or anything like that, but just do the knowledge on Gabriel Prosser. You know what I'm saying? And you'll see that this story is not nothing new. Like, people think it's a joke when they're referred to as house Negroes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know we're not Negroes, blacks, and colors, but some of them you cannot, they believe that they are. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing you could do because that's what they believe. It's not even about the facts and the knowledge. It's about what they really believe. They believe they're Negroes. So this is
Right,
how
right.
they became known as house Negroes, you know,
Right,
because
right.
that's what they believe. And this is why Noble Drew Ali was saying that, you know, if you can't convince them that they're Negro, black, and colored, it really is nothing else to talk about. Like, you know, get over it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, not get over it, but, like, just understand it's already prophesized. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
Like, let's get with those who do know who they are, right? And let's do something. You know, great.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? Like, ain't nobody complain, okay, you know. Yeah. That's what y'all want to be, and you know better. That's your choice. That's your choice.
Yeah.
You know, the universal right to self-determination is real, even when the choices are wrong or the ideology is wrong. If somebody self-determines that that's real to them, it is nothing you can do. That's where they're at. The best thing you could do is move on and get with some other logic-minded people. Like, really, get over it. Like, I hate to say it like this, but niggas is going to be niggas. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I mean that not as a people, but as an attitude. Like, it's just, get over it. You know what I mean? We ain't here to save everybody. We you know, we giving the information because it was given to us because we needed it the most. We needed it, but think about how many people don't want what they actually need. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that has been the case for a very long time. People don't want what they actually need. So, you give them what they need. If they don't want it, that's on them. You know what I mean? It's millions of other people that need it and want it. And it's better to just link with them and do the right thing. You know what I mean? So I'm not. Yeah.
And y'all talked on that reparation too. That's powerful what y'all was saying because I already know they ain't getting no reparation. I know that for a straight fact. Under those so-called names, tags, brands, and all like that, they ain't never getting it. Whoever gonna get it is like y'all said in the get-go of the show when y'all was talking, is those Polacks, the real slaves. They are the real slaves. How they gonna get some NBC's reparation and you don't even got a flag? You ain't even tied to nothing to even sit down and have a discussion like that. ADOS? Shit is a clown, man. You know? It's like a joke, like a big circus out here, man. It's a damn shame. And they pushing for it hard body, but they ain't gonna get it. If they ain't get it back then, what you think these Albions gonna give it to them now? These Albions is looking at them laughing. Yeah, they didn't figure it out yet, who they really are. So we just gonna play along with them, let them sing and dance, talk all that, yeah, reparation, and we ain't ever gonna give it to them. And they just gonna be stuck like Chucky. It's funny, man. They be pushing that word too hard, body. The black word. I still can't understand it, man.
Never will, yo. Never will.
Never seems to amaze me, man. Well, yeah, I like that you went down there and you seen that in the archives down in Washington. About, you know, who we are and the rights we got. That's powerful.
What's that? What's that, bro?
When you was talking yesterday on the show with your moms, Sister Anna E., you was dropping some jewels where you went.
Right. Yeah.
You was sharing that with
and that's another thing, too.
That's 100%, man. It makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Even with this whole black thing, right? Like when we went to the so-called National Museum of African American History and Culture, it opened up September 2016, Gregorian calendar, right? When you go in there, there's a soundtrack, and you could go back and watch the video as well when we was at the at that museum on Mantis Views 29. But I mean, this is why I'm beyond trying to convince those who don't want to know, because when we went into the museum, it was clear as day. It said on the audio track in the museum when it was explaining about so-called Africans, and it said that Africans became black dealing with colonial North America, not America, colonial America, right? So this is when so-called Africans became black, but they weren't that. And I played it back about 3-4 times because it's telling you right in, everybody was so in love with Obama and everything. That was low-key Obama's farewell as far as marking his presidency in office, because you think about it, September 2016 on the equinox, this was the closing of his presidential term of his 8 years. So he leaves out, drops that museum, or that museum opens under the end of his presidency, and in there they telling you that so-called Africans ain't black. So, you know, don't be mad at Moors. This is a historical fact. That's not. It's on the Smithsonian Museum on the National Mall. Everybody like to ball at the mall, but go ahead to the National Mall and see that, you know, black is a myth. It's not a nationality. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, it's not. It's not Moors making that up. Noble Drew Ali didn't make that up. Like, it was a historical fact. So it's beyond trying to convince. Like, the information is out there. 21st century, they still telling you that you're not black. No, Africans became black, dealing with colonial North America, or in other words, the United States of America. So, you know, it ain't no thing we gotta debate. You know, go debate that. Go debate those who put together the National Museum and the Smithsonians and all of that. Because, you know, okay, let's say you find some falsehood. We already know truth and falsehood is strangely mixed. So we can refine that and leave the truth as the shining example. The scientists would know how to do that. You know, so, you know, I don't, you know, I'm not off that, but it's just like, we have all the reference points to show you that you're not black, and historically, that's what it is. You know, all of this pride of being African and all of that, and then you turn around and say black. Well, according to the historical records, that's a disgrace to Africans. If you saw African, you know, same thing with being original to America, you know. So, I don't know. People just got to get over themselves and the myths that they've been told and want to hold on to. But again, you can't be surprised because they'll hear that. They'll see that and still be like, oh, that's just a lie, you know. It's something wrong because it's the Smithsonian. And, okay, well, go to an old dictionary and you'll see how so-called Africans ain't black. It has everything to do with paleoids or whatnot. You know, modern Europeans. So I'm just saying, you know, for those who want to hold on to artificial structures of society or societal structures and caste systems and things like that, yo, at this point, it's like, you know, it's a choice at this point because the facts are out there. So
no doubt,
we're not going to stress about them if they don't want to accept the truth about themselves, you know.
All right. I got one more question, and I'm going to shut it down. Now, this thing, how many flags do Moors have altogether? Because this guy I've been peeping his videos like once in a while. I already did my homework. I want to see from y'all. He trying to say that red flag with the 5 green crescent with the pointed stars is not Moor's flags. And you probably heard of him before. And he be on YouTube a lot. Sabir Bey. He running around talking about he been over the country where he probably traveled, and he said he came back and he got to break the news to all the Moors that the red flag with the green 5-pointed stars is not the Moorish flag. Have you ever heard of stuff like that before? And I had to look. I see some other flags too, way before that flag. So I'm trying to say, what is he saying? And I know that flag is our flag. But I wanted to hear from y'all, from what y'all know.
Man, you know what you know. I know what I know. We all know what the Moorish flag look like. Like I'm not even go in on Sabir like that.
I know you ain't slipping on that. I just wanted to add you because I know y'all highly intelligent. I just
said you know truth from falsehood. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what other facts he had to clarify that, but I don't have any facts to the contrary. You know what I mean? Like I don't. Now, is he saying it's a Moorish flag and it's not the Moorish? I don't know what he's trying to say with that. What attention he's trying to grab with that. But come on, we flag,
he's saying that when he went abroad to Spain, he spoke with that so-called Africans over there, and they know who the Moors are from us being over here in the northwest of Mexico. That they was catching hell when they walk around with that flag by the Albions.
Who was?
That flag put people through hell. He was saying over there when he was in Spain, over in the different
right. You saying that he said that the Moors over in Spain was catching hell because of the flag, or that Moors over here was catching hell because of the flag. What are you saying that he's saying? See, his lives get lost in translation. Like,
all right, this is what he's saying. He's saying this. He's over there in Spain. He's trying to gather all the intelligence that he needs so he knows what the real deal is, because he's going to the source. Because Moors domicile all over the globe. So he's saying that the Moors that are over there in Spain that he went overseas and came in contact with was telling him about that flag. He said if you have that flag anywhere around different parts of these people, like Albions, in the
but are you
pale
places? That's what I'm asking you.
Huh?
Like, are you saying are you talking about people or places? Because you're saying that if you have this flag anywhere around these people, like Albions present day are in a lot of places, not just Spain. So are you saying that in Spain this is the climate, or like what is being said?
The different people in Spain. That's what I'm saying. The different people that reside in Spain, which are what? Pale Arabs and the Africans.
There's no such thing as a pale Arab. Yeah, it's really no such thing as a pale Arab. And I think that that wouldn't be a credible source. That wouldn't be a credible source to go to Spain, and then, you got Moors in Spain talking about they catching hell because of the flag. Like, what does that have to do with free Moors who wasn't defeated in Spain?
How about the complexion? People that live over there, they have a lighter complexion.
Yeah, I mean it was a lot of amalgamation going on over there, and the flag is over 50,000 years old. So to say that, oh, Moors is catching hell because of the Moorish flag in Spain is not breaking news, because when did it go down with Moors? Moors ran Spain from 711 to 1492. So we already know about Moors being expelled from Spain. What does that have to do with the Moorish flag, and how is that breaking news? Like, we already know the beef between Moors and Spaniards. That's nothing new. So, like, again, you know, it's not breaking news.
Right. I just wanted to throw that out there.
This had happened in 1492. Before they even came over here to America, Moors and Spaniards was beefing. So, I mean, you say that to say what? That's like saying here, you know, oh, the Europeans don't like dark-skinned people. Like, okay, well, we've known that for, and we can't say all of them are like that, but in a sense, on a systematic level, we've known that for decades, generations, centuries.
Yeah, eons.
Not breaking news. Yeah, is Jim Crow breaking news to you? Like, is the Christian black codes is that breaking news? Like, it's a very old fact. So for us to sit here and say that is like, okay, what's next? We know this. What's next? We know that.
Right.
If that wasn't the case, Moors wouldn't have been so-called expelled from so-called Spain. Like, anybody who know anything about Moors is going to tell you that. Like, I mean, like, you don't even got to go to Spain for that. But if it, you know, like I say in the Quran, though, listen to the tales of the traveler. I'm sure somewhere in there is some wisdom, but it ain't breaking news to me. But now, if you say that that's not the Moorish flag, then I don't know. They got some showing and proving to do on that note. No, real talk. But again, I
had to laugh when I heard that. I had to laugh when I heard that, because we always been here, never went nowhere. So why we catching hell if you know the truth? You feel me? I don't see no real hell being caught because of a flag. You know?
Yeah. Right.
Because if you wave that flag outside of your front of your domain, the heat gonna come on you? Nah, they gonna flee from you when they see that flag flying. You know? And I only talk on it. I know that from experience. You know, I've seen what the power that flag does to these people around you in your surrounding area. They don't want to mess with you, or they don't want to come around you because they know you know something. They don't know what you know, but they know you know something. So the best thing for them is to get the hell out of Dodge if your shit ain't right and exact. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but Brother Balanzi, peace to you, bro. We got less than a half an hour left. And
I thank you for the time, my good brother, Mizrael, Cool Joe,
no doubt,
and the other brother. And keep doing what you do best, man. Love you with all my heart and soul, man.
Indeed. Likewise, Noble. Travel well and safe. Thanks for the check-in. All right. Cool. That being said, caller 936-933. Live on the air. You with us?
I'm with you, Miz. Everything is good. I'm over here in the beautiful energy center of what they now call Khalifa, but it's old ancient Amexi in Mexico. And and I'm enjoying the energy and all the divine quartz crystals and the royals that's speaking. What's being said is divine on the 20th night in a Gemini month. And got a brother with the MVP war number 2. And on the opposite spectrum, the brother on the other side, on the Golden State side, number 11 went down. And so, you know, we got these polarities which nature lives by and shows us out on the big screen. We know a lot of it is rigged, but these people are rigged. A lot of fake people walking around, fake entities, fake food. So we have that here amongst us too. So things are beautiful and divine. Man, I just wanted to attest to that. What is being said about the petrified wood. I'm in one of the major petrified wood areas in Khalifa, and it will be even more petrified up in the Jurassic area in Toronto. So that's another, divine order thing right there. And then on their jerseys, they got the sunlight emblem. So you know how far you want to go down this rabbit hole, man. It's a beautiful divine time. And then you look at the true north on the body is the head, and we got the bird brain coming on with the return of Quetzalcoatl, which is the Mexican flag. The bird grabbing the serpent, standing on a cactus, which represents, the fertility of repeating itself. And then you got the bird, the raptor up there with the claw. That's what raptor means, claw. They named the brother the Claw. His name got Leo in it, Leonard. Man, it just goes on and on, man. It's so divine, it's so magical, and I just want to attest, man. You brought up that petrified wood, and when that brother that was on the line earlier, when he find him a piece of petrified wood, I just want him to know he holding that ancient piece of himself, which is quartz crystal, and he can sometimes the wood actually looks like a sandwich. It's real smooth on the outside, and it's straight glittery quartz crystal on the inside like a sandwich. And when you run across him, son, because I know it's like a cell phone, bro. He gonna get dialed up by that being because it's in his region now, and then that's gonna go with the nationality because that's what we are. We petrified to the land. And it's a process. It's a long process because nobody is born knowing this. But the ancient memories is there, and then the age of Aquarius, which is the water and air, is going to blow on it. And hey, what Sabir found out, we need to listen to it and not judge it because a lot of things that we're gonna find out is gonna be turned out. We're gonna have to change our thinking. A lot of things that we think is real is actually we're gonna find out is not accurate. So we have to adjust. And with that, brothers, man, I say much love to the royal ones, the quartz crystalline beings. Just keep your quartz crystals clean, and man, beam me up. Islam.
Islam, man.
Islam, bro. Indeed. Right on. Couldn't agree more. So that's that. Hold up. I think that's our last caller. Somebody else called in again. I don't know. This is caller 682-360. It looked like you raised your hand again, Sam. Do you want to add something on?
Yeah, I was just ask one question. I was trying to see if y'all ever heard of on the bottom of one of my 101s. It says Herds Revised Statute, chapter 32 and 36. And I was wondering if y'all ever heard of that.
Well, think about it like this. In your studies, the noble duality tell you enforce constitutions or statutes?
Well, he said constitution, but when I looked it up, it had something to do with the religious affidavit that was on the back of the 101.
Yeah,
and
so once again, so the noble duality say this is divine and national or religious and national?
You say what now? Was on mute.
The noble duality say that this is divine and national or religious and national?
He said divine and national.
Right. So when you see Herds Revised statute, you know that it's not law. The statute. And he made reference to two sections in there And then that's the only two sections that Moors are supposed to look at, and they're supposed to leave that stuff alone. But Moors get caught up because when you start reading Hers Revised Statute, you start getting your pulpit powers. You start thinking that you're the man. No, you're the grand whoever with the powers of whatever powers Hers Revised Statute gives you. When Noble Drew Ali only referenced two sections in Hers Revised Statute, nothing else.
Right.
So how come there's Moors out here talking about all these different parts of Hers Revised Statute when Noble Drew Ali only told you go check two sections? And that's it.
So that would be correct, though.
No, I think what happens is they start acting like that is where the authority comes from. And that's not true, because on the back of the 101s that you mentioned, right in there, he says our authority comes from the Great Quran of Muhammad. How come from the Great Quran of Muhammad to interpreting that to Hers Revised Statute? Like, that's what you really got to think about. When you're talking about authority derived coming from the Great Quran of Muhammad, then you put that in perspective with the First Amendment and all of this, then you see that clearly the authority has constitutional securities and fortifications. It didn't say our authority comes from Hers Revised Statutes. It said the authority comes from the Great Quran of Muhammad. So, I mean, I think people was taking that out of context, too, Because any statutory laws will have to be consistent with constitutional laws. And constitutional law has to be consistent with divine law. And that's just what it is. So I wouldn't get caught in that, like that is the be-all, end-all as far as authority and whatnot, I would go into the Holy Quran, the Great Quran of Muhammad that he's speaking about, that being the authority where it's derived. And then see if in the Great Quran of Muhammad it mentioned anything about a Hers Revised Statute.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking that when I do a lot of thinking, and when I seen it, I looked at it, and it was saying something about a body politic, and I was thinking, and then the bylaws of the temple, and I was just reading it, and I'm like, okay, so when he sent us there, I think he was actually telling us that the protection we would be considered as a body politic under that statute, which we already is a body politic because we're a nation, but with that, like you said, connected with that.
So look at what you recognize. Look at what you recognize. That so we're a nation. Okay, so if you're a nation, you don't need Hers Revised Statute. If you're already a nation, what's the purpose of Hers Revised Statute?
Well, I was thinking Amendment 1, reinforcing, statutes just reinforce the Constitution. They not
Amendment 1 of what?
Of the Constitution.
Exactly. That's where your religious powers come from, not the statute.
Right.
People got played into thinking that because he said Hers Revised Statute, and then that has to do with religion, and then the Moorish literature says religious corporation, and then it's incorporated, and then we have a charter, and then they get caught up in some religious whatever. This is not some religious whatever. This is nationhood.
Yeah.
Period. So if it's nationhood, what religion got to do with anything? Unless there were people who were too much of a dumbass to understand Constitution, so you had to bring them up in the BS that they were brainwashed with, which was religion.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is all about Constitution. This has nothing to do with any type of religious whatever. This is really about constitutional enforcement, because we're under occupation, and that's the supreme law of the land. So the occupiers, that's their rules that they got to follow. Forget some statute. As soon as you start bringing up statutes, you give them jurisdiction.
Okay.
That's why Noble Jolly only referenced 2 sections of the Herds of Rights statute. He didn't say that is the full go check everything. He listed the 2 sections he was checked, just to see why he made that affidavit that says our authority.
Right.
That's it.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Right.
Why? That's why he did the affidavit. You know, that's what I was thinking. Why he sent us there, because of that affidavit. And of course, he said enforce the Constitution, but that provided further protection.
What provides further protection?
That religious affidavit. That's my interpretation. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, we're a nation.
Right.
No religious affidavit gives a nation power.
Exactly.
Remember, we were Negro, black, colored. We don't know what nation is. We don't know what a flag is and all that. We don't know about national customs, but we know about some religion. So he met the people where they were. This is why when people talk about, oh yeah, what Noble Drew Ali brought was outdated, you got to update that and start doing something different. What are you talking about? You didn't even do what he said to do in the 1920s. We're still playing statutes and acts and ordinances and codes and whatever today. They're still playing the statute game today. But as soon as you start talking statute, you're talking about you just give them jurisdiction. And you're Moors though? How are you Moors and you're giving up jurisdiction by using a statute as the law? And then they're going to justify it by saying, well, Noble Drew Ali said whatever. But all they're doing is selling out the people by doing that. Because I'm guarantee you, you read Divine Warning for the Nations, ain't nothing in there about no statutes being the law. Nothing. So just be wary. When you pull things, make sure you check, because I know for sure that he said, see Herds of Rights statute and gave you sections to go check. You didn't say see Herds of Rights statute and leave it there. He told you where to go. Once you go
Chapter
there, that's
32.
it. Ain't nothing else to go check after you check those 2 parts. Nothing else to check. Everything else is dead in that document.
I don't even think I checked the whole document. It sent me straight to 32, chapter 32 and chapter 36.
Right, and that's it. Ain't nothing else to check. Once you check those 2, it should give you the perspective of why he put that affidavit in Cooks County.
Yeah.
And then we move on from there. That's that. The Moors know that people are dumbed down, so they're going to play dwelling on some stuff that has nothing to do with nothing. And have these people lost in the sauce.
Right. Then another thing that's funny to me is he did it in Cook County, and Cook County is where you see a lot of this Asiatic versus Asiatic. I'm like, man, this man came to Cook County, and now it looks like he wasn't even there. Like, what happened? But I thought about it when I was reading. I was listening to the Bible, and Isaiah chapter 19, and I was like, man, Isaiah chapter 19 talked about really basically what they doing today. And it was talking about how they had Egyptian against Egyptian, city against city, kingdom against kingdom. You got to go back and read it. I can't remember everything, but I was like, man, that's crazy.
But remember again, there's no sense reading the Bible without a metaphysical Bible dictionary. You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Because that's not what it means. What you perceive in your mind, the Bible's interpretation based on the words on the page, that's not what that means. There's a deeper meaning. When you look up Isaiah, you're going to get a meaning of something. When you look up Egyptian, you're going to get a meaning of something that has absolutely nothing to do with what you think that means. Absolutely nothing. Just wait till you get the metaphysical Bible dictionary, and then you go start looking up stuff that you thought you knew, that Egypt was a place in Africa and all that stuff. That ain't what Egypt is. From a metaphysical perspective. And if they have a metaphysical Bible dictionary, then that means Bibles are metaphysical, not mundane. And as soon as you look at it mundane, you just lost the whole perspective of what you were supposed to be taught. Because you're thinking that they say land or nod, and you're thinking land means dirt and stuff like that, and then you check land in the dictionary, it's talking about consciousness. It ain't talking about earth.
Okay.
Just bring that up again because you're bringing up the Bible quote again, which there's nothing wrong with the Bible quote, but if it's not from a metaphysical perspective, you're playing yourself.
Okay.
Because the Bible is a metaphysical book, period. Anybody telling you about, oh yeah, Galatians 1:8 and Jesus said, and then they start talking mundane, playing me. Because that's a metaphysical book, only. Don't look at it any other way. As soon as you start looking at it as something else other than metaphysical, you lost the message. And you're going down into some spiral that you might not be able to come out of after you finish deciphering whatever is the Bible.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to get that. I really just listened to it just to get a perspective, because I didn't know when I started reading the 101s, I didn't know who Boaz, Baruch, and all these people were. So that's really why, and then a lot of our people was caught up in that. So I was, telling them, look, like not telling them, but so I can understand for my own, like that's the God of Israel is not the God of all. You know what I'm saying? But, like you said, it's all a different meaning. So I'm going to have to go back. And after I read the Quran, more start on the Quran, and then I have to go back and check that out. I appreciate that information, though, man. I appreciate y'all. I think that's it for me. I yield the flow of Islam. Peace and love.
Islam, bro. I think you're muted, Miz.
Oh, word, my fault. I was saying that will conclude our broadcast for tonight. We have about 5 minutes left. One more time, I just want to thank everybody on the line, everybody who will listen to this. I wish you all a happy summer solstice and a great summer season. as we move already into the fall, you know. So it's like, and it's crazy because the moment something reaches its highest peak, it automatically starts going back to its lowest. So though we at the time of the year where we're going to have the most sunlight, you know, the longest day tomorrow, you know, after those 3 days, the sun will start declining and, you know, we'll get less and less sunlight, etc. So it's just some interesting times. I wish this be a great season for everybody with the summer. And indeed, some great things manifest through these times. That being said, big acknowledgement to MHHS, Moorish Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open Blog Talk Radio, Canaanland Moors. Thank you, Brother Cujo, for consistently adding on through the years. And a big acknowledgement to the Brother Yusuf for definitely being on earlier part of the blog or this broadcast. I highly appreciate it. That was divinely aligned. And I'll yield the floor to you and close out, bro. Islam.
Islam. Peace and love to all Moors. You already know how we do. For the Moors in Canaanland, don't forget we got our summer solstice walk this Sunday, 12 noon. We're meeting up at the Rouge Hill GO Station, which is at Lawrence and Port Union, Lawrence east of Port Union. And don't forget July 6th, Canaanland Moors annual barbecue. Going to be happening at Toronto Island, 12 noon to 6 p.m. So this Sunday and July 6th. And again, give thanks to the mothers for the platform, MHHS, Eyes Wide Open, and the online university, rvbaypublications.com. And again, give thanks to you, Brother Miz. Honors to the sons of Allah. Peace to all the Moors in the chat and all the Moors worldwide. Islam to all.
Yes.
All have a happy solstice.
Indeed. That being said, we're going to close out, man. And I got to say again, thanks, and salute to all the Moors in the chat for sure, too. Did not want to forget y'all. I'm going to close this out with this here.
Yeah. Operation Rapper Inquisition. Still here. Operation Rapper Inquisition. All the gods and goddesses. Iron Sheik. Hip hop lives, yo. The deaf won't hear and the blind won't see the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. Ineps indirectly, Boo Ali, one of the names of the prophets internationally. Drew said Moors proclaiming nationality, cause you're not Ethiopian or NBC. So he founded America's MST in 28. Me saying that they will cause debates are needed to clear up the mess, but most debate so they can big up their chest to prove what they know and what they can do. Recreating the wheel that was created by Drew. When you know the truth, many debate, but few humble themselves and suppress the jungle itself. Do them, I just do me, keeping my gold while they trade in their jewelry. Taj Tariq and nature-based schooled me. You fool me in your dreams. Dirty Moors think they can mule me. Truly, who's the real Drew? Me and we. I see more their religion is my mental degree and where everybody's supposed to be. If not, I guess that's not where you're supposed to be. Hopefully, Drew Ali will be seen openly and realize NBC is something you can be. The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. It seems unconscious Moors love the semblance of identity and having no remembrance of the Moorish past, no resemblance of the ancestral land inheritance. Love being the children, not the parents. To do any activity asking for clearance. Their minds like crystal, nothing but clearance. Everyone can progress in their land, the heirs can't. it's your status. Stop blaming racists who bleed just like you if you shank their faces. You Moors flew here in pyramid spaceships, and they use that as an emblem on their aprons, and can't be free if not Moorish Masons. Black or more Europeans are not Caucasians, coming to the new world to civilize pagans. With boats at harbors from mosque on hills, we sending in agents. The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see, the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see, the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see, the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see, the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali.
We transcend and ascend in this. It's a journey, just like the Moors traveling. Worlds upon worlds that's found within. It gotta touch her as we exhale, past all distorted truths and the lies they tell, to keep y'all from drinking at the well. Divine love, that's the fountain of youth. Sun peep it, this is the alchemist's secret. Restoring true unity, resurrecting a community. So every day I wake to fight, though it's hard, it's rest guard. In every demonstration I'm penetrating to the depths of the mind. A noble chief, well kept and refined. Your feeling is bright like the star Sirius. This musician is the son of man. I look within, Drew Ali on the canvas of my soul to replenish the whole. Replacing the old is critical, reaching to the pinnacle. Native and original MC that's relevant, and the style is intelligent, but I keep it interesting. Dropping true math in the cipher if you enter in. The law is the center, so study yourself and be renewed. That's elevation, restoration through contemplation and meditation. Now the soul's navigating, manifesting art creation. The room of this mic, utilizing the light on the path. My body is an astro lab. I take the right actions, and my compass is compassion for internal alchemy.
The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see, the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see, the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see, the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. The deaf won't hear, the blind won't see, the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali.